Su Xing scratched his head. Gong Caiwei's words were somewhat unexpected. He seriously said, I already have a plan to handle the two assassins. If I really need your help, I won't be modest with you, Caiwei. Gong Caiwei grunted in affirmation. She heard his intent. The girl said nothing else, and the atmosphere fell into silence. Su Xing found a topic and spoke up. Right, the Bright Moon Longevity Palace has already been opened. Caiwei, do you want to move in? Gong Caiwei was taken aback. The red clouds that had just abated once again flew across her cheeks. If it was before, Gong Caiwei definitely would face him with cold eyes. However, she noticed that whenever she faced this man in front of her, she already could no longer be as tranquil as before. Feigning nonchalance. Why invite me? Only then did Su Xing notice that his question seemed too ambiguous. The Bright Moon Longevity Palace has an abundance of spiritual power, very helpful for cultivation. Right. You can cultivate the longevity art anytime you wish in the Longevity Palace. How about it? Want to consider it? Gong Caiwei nodded. It was unclear if this was agreement or agreement to consider. As the two chatted, they already attracted the attention of other cultivators. The immortal hero princess of the Azure Dragon territory was very famous, and her cultivation had broken through to Supervoid, which added even more to her refined, heroic air. She made countless male cultivators submit, and to see the legendary girl who was as cold as ice and snow surprisingly conversing with a man honestly made them envious. However, that man was a Supervoid cultivator, so there was no helping their jealousy. Just when they were somewhat timid, somebody refused to be so. Elder brother, he is Su Xing. The Lingdong Countess Yi Lingxi recognized her nemesis, Su Xing. She indignantly appealed to Yi Futu for justice. Yi Futu was currently patrolling for the Star Masters of the Four Oceans Halls in consideration of star duel plans. Hearing his little sister's words, he cast his glance at Su Xing. His eyes narrowed. The one you spoke of who disrespected you is him? Exactly him. Even in disguise, I can recognize him. Seeing Su Xing was chatting cheerfully with Gong Caiwei, Yi Lingxi was completely red in the face with fury. This damned man had seduced the Ling Yan princess, and was surprisingly seducing the immortal hero princess. Supervoid cultivator, a star master? Yi Futu stroked his chin. He angers me to death. I definitely will tell Sister Caiwei, that man's shameless, true face. Yi Lingxi ground her teeth. She had just taken 2 steps forward when she was grabbed by Yi Futu. Elder brother? Yi Lingxi was unhappy he had stopped her. Look at what he is saying first. A slight grin flit across the corner of Yi Futu's lips. Yi Lingxi did not understand. If he is your enemy, then observe him. From his words and actions, his manners and expressions, you can deduce his weakness. Know thyself. Know thy enemy to emerge victorious through 100 battles. So annoying. Yi Lingxi wrinkled her brow. Yi Futu sternly glanced at her. Yi Lingxi knew her elder brother's temperament, and stayed her mouth even though she was unhappy. Yi Futu took out a wine cup, drinking as he monitored Su Xing's behavior, leaving no sign by using the corner of his eye. He had a sort of intuition that man was hiding something. After 3 rounds of drinking, Yi Futu had yet to see anything. Su Xing and Gong Caiwei's chat seemed very ordinary. However, that man absolutely was not as simple as he appeared in order to be able to attract the attention of the immortal hero princess. Elder brother. Yi Lingxi was impatient. You have to avenge little sister. She would never forget this. Yi Futu smiled. Since this is the case, let us personally meet him. When Yi Futu approached Su Xing had already been monitoring this red-haired man. Gong Caiwei had also been secretly using sound transmission to inform him of all information pertaining to Yi Futu. Because of an accident, this cultivator who once possessed superb talent had degraded into a cripple. Now, after all traces of him vanished, he once again rose abruptly, having once again found his talent. Though his supercluster peak cultivation was not high, as far as a star master was concerned, breaking through to Supervoid was only a matter of time. Gong Caiwei mentioned that he was a star master. However, Su Xing did not see his star general. At least, she was not following at his side. Elder sister Caiwei, stay far away from this man. Yi Lingxi flew over and grabbed Gong Caiwei's hand to pull her away from the close distance she was at beside Su Xing. Yi Lingxi, what are you doing? Gong Caiwei wrinkled her brow. Yi Lingxi, we meet again. Su Xing smiled. Yi Lingxi glared at him and coldly snorted. Shameless pervert. You are acquainted? Gong Caiwei said in surprise. Elder sister Caiwei, do not be deceived. The Lingyan princess man is him. You had best stay away from him. He definitely is thinking of harming you. Gong Caiwei stared oddly at Su Xing. I made a boring bet with her, and the result is she lost. Su Xing shrugged his shoulders. Yi Lingxi, your shouting is unbecoming of the Yi clan. Gong Caiwei was expressionless. Yi Lingxi's mouth hung agape. She thought that she had misheard, for Gong Caiwei unexpectedly defended this man. Little sister, do not be noisy and carefully listen to Caiwei's words. A transient glint flashed by Yi Futa's eyes as he very quickly put on a very amicable smile. Your servant is Yi Futu, Yi Lingxi's big brother. Su Xing nodded. I think you also know my name. But as her big brother, you honestly should properly teach your little sister. She and I definitely do not have such enmity. You shameless pervert, you have reversed black and white. Yi Lingxi's eyes spouted fire. Yi Futu did not answer, but he smiled and asked, May your servant ask, Brother Su Xing, do you have a little sister? Yes, however, they are very good at understanding others. Since Brother Su Xing also has little sisters, then you must be very understanding of the feeling of being a big brother? Yi Futu continued. And Su Xing knew what he was thinking of. My little sister indeed has been somewhat in the wrong, however, she generally wants to make me, as her elder brother, get her out of predicaments. Even if she is not right at all, any way it is put, she is my little sister. Besides that she and fellow Su Xing had something happen before. The misfortune is hers. And, as a big brother, helping a little sister out is only right. Brother Futu, if you have something to say, just say it directly. If it is a rude and unreasonable request, then forgive your servant for his powerlessness. Su Xing said bluntly. Yi Futu smiled. Good brother used a bit of psychology to best my little sister. Today, I only want to bet 3 rounds with you. This request was the same as Su Xing's own idea, but he was somewhat apprehensive of Yi Futa's 3 bets. Brother Futu wants 3 bets. Can we not settle with 1 bet? Your servant and brother Su Xing are somewhat of kindred spirits. Your servant fears there will not be much time to make merry in this treasure banquet. It would be a bit better to enjoy ourselves to the fullest. Then good, I also was thinking of savoring this. Su Xing's eyes flashed with a bit of cunning. This Four Oceans Hall was currently holding the Alliance of 10 conference. So as to not influence things, Su Xing and Yi Futu went to an adjacent hall. Su Xing turned his head back and spoke to Tang Lianxin briefly, making Tang Lianxin take note of the situation in the Four Oceans Hall before he turned and went into the side palace. Regarding the bet between these 2 men, Gong Caiwei did not issue any opinion from start to finish, however. She tagged along out of slight interest and to also act as a witness. Yi Futu whispered into Yi Lingxi's ear. Hearing that her elder brother wanted to best Su Xing in a bet, Yi Lingxi was incomparably excited, and she promptly dispatched someone to prepare. Not a moment later, everything had been prepared. In the palace, a table and a chess set were arranged, with red pieces acting for white and black as black. Su Xing furrowed his brow. For this first round, we shall play chess. How do you feel? Yi Futu asked. Chess. Su Xing thought this was even stranger. He did not expect for the most ordinary chess. Rather than say a game of chance, it would be better to say this was recreation. To be evenly matched, to make a friend. This was Yi Futa's intent. Of course. Su Xing did not have an opinion. Elder brother, you must beat him, silly. Yi Lingxi excitedly pounded her fist. From her confident expression, Yi Futa's chess skills perhaps were not simple. Su Xing chose the red pieces. Red went first. Su Xing's divine intent moved, and a cannon advanced. Yi Futu smiled. He eyed the board and moved his divine intent. Without any hesitation, after Yi Futu made his move, Su Xing quickly shifted his own. Yi Futu followed closely behind, but before he could take a careful look, Su Xing seemed to have already finished thinking. He moved his horse, and Yi Futu continued to wear a forceful chill, and did not hesitate to move. In that second, both of them took several dozen turns. Yi Futu noticed that Su Xing seemed to be doing this deliberately. Each move had not opportunity for consideration. As if the moment he moved, Su Xing would immediately pressure on. The board was full of tyranny and oppression. Brother Su Xing's chess style truly makes your servant expand his horizons. Yi Futu took a deep breath and maintained his calm. He nearly was about to be dragged in by Su Xing's rapid tempo. A bit of vigilance was in his eyes. Yet his expression still smiled slightly. Ancient people played chess as they enjoyed tranquility, but I feel victory through speed is not bad. Fast is good, but fast also signifies needless consideration. In chess, renouncing pondering signifies a complete and total loss. Yi Futu kindly said. Su Xing declined to comment. Thus, the next move was very interesting. Su Xing calmly looked at the chessboard, making his move immediately after Yi Futu's without any thinking. Yi Futu maintained his own deliberate manner, not being influenced by Su Xing's provocative chessplay. He worked according to his own style, occasionally carefully looking at Su Xing's positioning, occasionally looking at Su Xing's appearance as he moved his pieces, as if he was trying to discern something. How can this be? Elder brother has been suppressed. Yi Lingxi was dumb as a wooden chicken, as if she had been dunked with a bucket of cold water. Yi Futu had enjoyed chess ever since he was little, considerably elaborate and meticulous with his arrangements. Even the great Liang's national chess master was ashamed of his own inferiority. Yi Lingxi had thought she could see her elder brother suppress the loathsome Su Xing in chess, yet she saw the complete opposite scene. Yi Futu were locked tight. Su Xing was heedless. The expressions of the two were the difference between heaven and earth. In Yi Lingxi's eyes, it seemed her elder brother had become a rookie, and that leisurely Su Xing was like an old master teaching him. The reason for this misconception was that Su Xing's moves were honestly too quick. Elder brother, make your moves faster. Yi Lingxi shouted. Yi Futu did not hear her. He still continued in his own way, neither fast nor slow. So incredible. The eternally silent Zhu Sha suddenly spoke. Gong Caiwei saw that the Zhu Sha who would not even blink if the sky came crashing down was unexpectedly showing shock. She knew that there was something significant on the inside and asked, "Have you seen something?" "He has been deceived," Zhu Sha said. These 4 words were a bit vague. Who has been deceived? He. Zhu Sha looked at Yi Futu then back at the chessboard. Gong Caiwei suddenly understood. So that is how it is. On the surface, Su Xing seemed to be using pressure to hold an advantage over Yi Futu, not considering any move on the chessboard, but in fact, Su Xing's considerations were perhaps far more extensive than Yi Futu. Just as Yi Futu began to meditate every move, Su Xing also had time for leisure. It was precisely during this time that Su Xing already saw through the trend of the game, and when it came time for his turn, he naturally did not need to think much. Therefore, Su Xing was then cleverly passing the time back to Yi Futu, creating the odd image of a Yi Futu in contemplation, and a Su Xing that did not need to do so. He has won, Zhu Sha said. Su Xing, just who are you after all? Gong Caiwei murmured. The following game was not unsurprising. Along with the passage of time and the trend of chess, the atmosphere grew increasingly heavy. Although Yi Futu racked his brains and reflected for counterplay, his countermeasures had already fallen into the lost defense trap. The more time he had to ponder, the more certain Su Xing's victory became. And even if at this time Yi Futu wanted to match Su Xing's speed, because he had lost the initiative, he was already too late. Their game made the Yan Yizhen in the star nest begin to admire Su Xing. The result was obvious. A scarlet edge extravagantly cut open a line in the sky. Black lotuses suddenly swayed, and the first petal was ripped apart under a bloody edge. Yi Futu could not hold on, and revealed gaps. His gaze gradually chilled, but he still maintained his calm. He concentrated full force on the game, his super-fast thinking analyzing the whole situation. His next move was also to take one of Su Xing's pierces. The black piece was just like a stable sluice gate, adopting an airtight defensive stance. The bloody red sword under Su Xing's intent was unstoppable in its assault, forcing Yi Futu to change strategy each and every time. Iron chains stretched across the river. They instantly disintegrated. Red cavalry danced bloodily, charging forth unhindered. Military defeat. Futu took a very deep breath. He raised his head to look at Su Xing, his eyes a complex mix of different things. Amazing, amazing. This Yi has never seen such a game. Today this Yi's horizons have expanded. The loss was well worth it. You flatter me. After their duel, Futu was drenched in cold sweat, yet Su Xing was carefree. What is the second bet? Having sat for so long, our bodies are somewhat stiff. How about we move around for the second bet? Futu slightly smiled. A competition then? That's fine as well. Su Xing nodded. As expected, this Futu was only gambling on the surface. In actuality, he was using this as an opportunity to probe Su Xing. However, as with the chess game, Su Xing was also currently thinking of probing him back. This Futu, like a male lead in a Xuanhuan novel whose life had turned around, was definitely concealing something. Su Xing was also very interested in unearthing that. Truth be told, this Yi has trained from a young age to be a sword cultivator, and really is not ordinary like other cultivators. My martial arts are not bad. Brother Su Xing, do you wish to accept this challenge? Futu asked. Su Xing knew he could not refuse. Elder brother Futu, fix him up without mercy, take my anger out on him. Hearing that this was a martial arts contest, Lingxi regained her liveliness from her gloom at Futu's defeat in the first round. She happily pranced about, nearly shouting that her big brother Futu was a genius. She probably thought that compared to chess, using his martial arts prowess was the proper way to teach Su Xing a lesson. Her elder brother had just lost the chess game on purpose, so as to make Su Xing arrogant enough to agree. Seeing the Lingdong Countess so excited, Gong Caiwei did not make a sound. The two stood at opposite ends of the hall. The red-clothed Futu was still smiling, but his eyes already had slight reservation. He raised his hand, and his fist was wrapped in flames. Brother Su Xing, for my little sister, I will not hold back. Forgive me. Then Su Xing nodded. A blinding fire spurted forth, immediately closing in on Su Xing. The fluttering flames were like a shirt covering Futu's whole body. As he had said, Futu appeared to indeed not be planning on holding back. But the moment he acted, displaying a distinctive fire ability, Su Xing committed this to memory. The corner of his lips slightly curled. He had just been thinking of knowing Futu's secrets. He could not pass this up. The Futu who had become a fireball in midair let loose a wave of fire. Su Xing's fingers were like blades, instantly striking, using Long Outyan's dragon claw. His killing intent was severe. Futu easily evaded, instantly rushing in front of Su Xing. Go! A flaming sword appeared in his other hand, swiftly slashing. Fire clothes break. In the instant they attacked at close range, the intense flames on Futu's body were like a coat. They suddenly broke away from his body, fire and person splitting apart. Su Xing's eyes nevertheless were left with the afterglow of flames. Under a situation of not being able to react in time, a violent killing intent clambered over the remaining flames in the air, and the air burned with a crackling sound. If it was not for her knowing that Su Xing had majestic star Lining Mei's innate skill, Gong Caiwei would have intervened. This Futu clearly had ill intentions. Futu took this chance to slash. However, this time, Futu bumped into a so-called iron plate. He wanted to rely on his innate martial force to challenge Su Xing. In this second round, victory had been decided from the very start. Su Xing used his profound body techniques, leaning past the sword. The flaming coat that flew over also was dispersed by Su Xing's power. Then one kick penetrated the layers of flame, and flipping, he kicked heavily into Futu's jaw. The power that charged from an angle struck directly, violently rocking his brain. The fire clothes break and other flames dispersed. Futu's body briefly left the ground. Lingxi's smile stiffened. She thought she had gone blind and forcefully rubbed her eyes. Her own elder brother had surprisingly been kicked by a cultivator. But Futu was also very valiant. When struck by such a heavy kick, he did not shrink back. He dropped in the air, unbelievably arriving above Su Xing. His right hand rose, the fingers open, as a claw of flame roared out. Hanging like a galaxy, it fell towards Su Xing's head. Bang! Just when he was on the verge of success, Su Xing struck in passing. Just as he was about to use Purple Fiend, he firmly stopped. That was a close call. He nearly exposed his identity. In this hesitation, Su Xing suffered a head-on repulsion. Yi Futu followed closely, kicking with his left leg. Su Xing seized this opportunity and blocked quickly with one hand, letting out a frightening thud. Su Xing winced, closing one eye. The battle willpower he had tempered through sparring with star generals could not be compared. Bewilderment flashed through the eyes of the Yi Futu tossed back into the air. Borrowing this impact force, he rapidly turned his body, and his other leg kicked towards Su Xing's jaw in a hook-like manner. The Su Xing who had just landed back on the ground once again used his elbow to block, dispersing this kick. But Yi Futu's trump card had just begun. Vermilion Bird Soaring Feather. Yi Futu's fingers continuously formed hand seals. A bird cry. Large and wide wings of fire unfurled behind Yi Futu. The swirling flames burned red, lighting the entire hall. Flames sparked fiercely off, lunging towards Su Xing as if to embrace him, directly burying Su Xing in this broiling blaze. Yi Futu somersaulted down. Just as he wanted to launch a second wave of consecutive attacks on the Su Xing engulfed in flames, countless rays of chilling cold chi split apart from within the flames on Su Xing's body. Shuffle, shuffle. Too instantly, only black scorch marks and smoke were left. Yi Futu instantly stopped. Su Xing's whole body radiated a dense, cold chi. Even from very far away, Yi Futu felt this was bone-chilling. Yi Futu was astonished. He did not dare believe there would surprisingly be someone able to so easily break his vermilion bird's soaring wing. Brother Su Xing, you are very secretive. He narrowed his eyes. It's nothing, only the heavenly water heart flame, that's all. Su Xing smiled. His hand opened, and a water flame burned. Yi Futu's expression sunk. This man in front of him was far more secretive and reserved than he had imagined. Each segment of his series of attacks just now could be said to be perfect. An average cultivator would inevitably be endlessly miserable in close quarters, but his opponent had handled everything with room to spare. Yi Futu even felt that Su Xing was simply not using full strength. Brother Futu, I wonder what that fire ability was just now. I have never heard of it. Su Xing spoke. This Yi was fortunate enough to obtain an unknown strange fire from an immemorial ruin. However, it seems to be a bit lacking against Brother Su Xing. Yi Futu smiled, speaking vaguely. He clearly was somewhat cautious. Then shall we continue? Su Xing said. Although this Yi is at a disadvantage, that does not mean I am limited to only this. Yi Futu smiled, suddenly taking action. The cold air was biting, and Su Xing launched an attack. Yi Futu leaned and let loose a fire arrow. Su Xing's clawing heavenly water heart flame immediately met the fire arrow. The heavenly water heart flame used was far from being as pure as a smelting fire, however. Su Xing secretly added instant frost flame, easily breaking the fire arrow. Just when Su Xing cut apart the fire arrow, Yi Futu already leapt up. Su Xing's speed instantly followed. Birds revere the phoenix. 3. Yi Futu leapt up into the air. His arms spread open, and the fire wings behind him abruptly enlarged. Flapping his wings, fire feathers then flew out, becoming 100 fire arrows that then attacked Su Xing from all sides using the flames. This guy's got some moves. Su Xing saw the might of the birds revere the phoenix. He did not dare underestimate it, but for the sake of avoiding exposing his identity, he did not use Purple Fiend. The heavenly water heart flame once again flew out, however, he was already unable to hold back on the instant frost flame this time, and formed countless ice rings. Following Yi Futu's intense attack, Su Xing continuously tore apart his flames while paying attention to his movements at the same time. When he grew familiar with Yi Futu's attack patterns, Su Xing indifferently intercepted where Yi Futu was about to land. His figure moved, spinning and attacking. The cold air strangely spun about, sweeping a big hole in the atmosphere. Yi Futu suddenly leaned away and avoided this terrifying power, brandishing his sword. A chance. Su Xing's eyes glinted with a cold light. His entire person shot like a sword towards his opponent, and an ear-splitting sharp whoosh poured into everyone's ears. The radiance in his eyes suddenly dimmed. This attack was faster than he had imagined, and by the time the dodging Yi Futu sensed danger, Su Xing's figure had already vanished without a trace from his sight like mist. Then, a sword-like figure was already in front of him. However, Yi Futu's reactions were extremely quick. Yi Futu possessed magnificent star Haobingxin's innate skill, battle potential. This innate skill could allow Yi Futu to display his own potential at critical moments in battle. As they say, one's courage mounts as the battle progresses. His hands promptly folded in front of him to form an absolute defense. He firmly received the entirety of the blow's force. The powerful impact made the ground and table behind his body disintegrate. Yi Lingxi was flabbergasted at their exchange of attacks. It was already impossible to describe the shock in the girl's heart. Su Xing sneered in his mind, once again acting without any mercy. He closed in and punched. The completely uncushioned impact made Yi Futu suddenly lose his balance. The Su Xing, whose eyes flowed with a cold light, did not let go of this opportunity at all. His arm suddenly rose, and then attacked again with the entire force of his body. Yi Futu's reactions far exceeded Su Xing's presumptions, and flames flew out from his body. The air burned with a crackling sound. Just when Yi Futu thought he could repel his opponent with fire, he suddenly felt his back go cold. Su Xing had strangely circled around his field of view and appeared behind him. What cultivator was this? Super Void Sword Saint. Yi Futu was suddenly shocked. "Excuse me," Su Xing said. Yi Futu struck a hand seal. The swirling flames became a cold light. Freezing ice and fire slammed into each other in the air, unexpectedly clashing with the sounds of weapons. The next instant, Yi Futu did not hesitate at all to use both hands as his sharpest weapons to face off against Su Xing. Battle potential had been completely stimulated, and he would not concede defeat even in death. Yi Futu completely did not expect that his first battle potential would be used on this young man. The hall suddenly raged with intense noises. Zhu Sha opened an array, just barely averting affecting the entire hall. Just when Yi Futu felt grim, Su Xing was astonished. He had battle doctrine and believed handling a cultivator would not be difficult. Although he was holding back a bit against Yi Futu, his opponent nevertheless took his attacks time and time again. Furthermore, he was becoming more and more courageous in this rapidly changing battle, maintaining unforeseen battle ability. He was not an ordinary sword cultivator. What made him even more shocked was that every swing of his opponent's sword changed, becoming even more quick, even more skillful, even more lethal. As if noticing Su Xing's surprise, Yi Futu's ordinary expression finally curled into a slight sneer. He used an even fiercer attack to continue his advance, not intending to retreat at all. He refused to retreat. Pretty good battle energy. But that was all. Su Xing was impressed. His pupils burned with an ice-cold blaze that was more scorching than this fire. Yi Futu's heart had an indistinct feeling of danger. The soaring flames washed away the cold air and icy chill, and his sharp eyes and his weapon became one line. He suddenly charged forwards, his sword stabbing with a roar. In the air, an arc of crimson that was red as blood was drawn. Bang! Flame and ice collided. Suddenly, a freezing chill and the flame's stifling presence rocked like a shockwave. The two of them crossed. The hall fell into silence. After a while, they turned around the same time, and Yi Futu laughed aloud. Did elder brother win? Just as Yi Lingxi was about to shout in excitement, suddenly, Yi Futu coughed, vomiting blood. He fell to a knee. Yi Futu forced a smile. He had lost. How can this be? Yi Lingxi sat on the ground in a daze. Caiwei narrowed her eyes, not at all surprised at this outcome. However, she saw that Yi Futu's battle display had surpassed her imagination. His progress was faster than before. In the days he had disappeared, just what had happened to him? Impressive, this Yi wholeheartedly accepts defeat. Yi Futu cupped his fist. You let me win. However, brother Yi has a star general. If she had taken action, your servant would have undoubtedly died. Su Xing modestly said. Caiwei wanted to laugh when she heard this. This man was truly shameless. This is our contest. Naturally, I would not count star generals. Yi Futu did not conceal anything. If we had actually star dueled right now, your servant would truly have died. On this you can relax. I have nothing to do with the star duels. Su Xing did not lie. The star duels indeed were unrelated to him, as long as those people did not provoke him. Su Xing's goal was to end the star duels, not to engage in internecine strife. Futu thought that Su Xing was saying he himself was not a star master, and his eyes held an odd glint. Brother Su has won 2 games. Your servant has nothing to say. This ye shall inform little sister later to make her stop bothering brother. However, if I could have a brother-in-law like yourself, Su Xing, that would be better. Haha. Futu teased. Yi Lingxi strangely was not angry. The girl at this moment was dumb as a wooden chicken, unable to accept that the elder brother she was so proud of had been defeated in 2 of the aspects he was best into a person she loathed. It would be better if we continued with the 3rd game. Su Xing suddenly said. Futu was taken aback. Brother Yi said before, there is no time after the banquet to play around like this. You might as well take advantage of this chance, enjoy ourselves to the fullest. Su Xing said. Of course, if Brother Yi is willing, let us add a new bet to the 3rd game to satisfy your little sister. Futu wrinkled his brow. He could not understand what Su Xing was plotting, but he still nodded. How shall we bet? If I win, may I meet Brother Ye's star general? Liangshan continent's legendary star generals are somewhat interesting. Su Xing explained. Futu did not say anything. He contemplated for a while, staring at Su Xing, thinking carefully. There was apparently no big deal. Star generals were very important to a star master from a star duel's perspective. To know of their identity beforehand, there was the possibility to prepare countermeasures. But now that the final phase was nearly upon them, hiding was no longer needed. After a light flickered, a petite and cute girl emerged. She was like a lovely ceramic doll, uniquely delicate. Even Gong Caiwei showed a bit of delight. Do you seek me? Hao Bingxin was already impatient. In fact, when Futu and Su Xing were dueling, Futu had previously made Hao Bingxin wait for an opportunity to kill Su Xing. However, Gong Caiwei's resourceful strategist Zhu Wu's formation was nearby, staying their hand. Otherwise, how could both sides be bullshitting each other with false friendship? Who are you? To surprisingly be able to defeat Futu. Hao Bingxin pursed her lip angrily. What a cute little sister. Su Xing chuckled. His hand held a bag of treats, like a standard weird uncle. Your servant is Hao Bingxin, the magnificent star, humph humph. Hao Bingxin raised her head, arrogant like a lion. Su Xing looked to Futu. If Brother Su is interested in meeting, then that is naturally this Ye's honor. Futu smiled. Regardless of the victor in the 3rd game, this Ye ought to introduce her. What shall we bet for the 3rd game? I just happen to be bored. Su Xing asked. As they spoke, they each sat down. Futu first tidied the disintegrated hall, and then he called for someone to go fetch a table. This time it was a long table. The 2 of them faced each other, and this time, Gong Caiwei stood behind Su Xing. Since ancient times, gambling has constantly changed forms. However, even with those changes, the core essence remained the same. Whatever the change, that was merely on the outside. Today, I do not wish to play with these boring styles. What I want is the most primordial 9 palaces array. How about the 9 palaces bet? Futu's eyes contained a profound intent. 9 palaces array? Su Xing had never heard of this. You truly are unsophisticated, to have not even heard of this. Yi Lingxi finally grabbed onto an opportunity to look down on him. The so-called 9 palaces array was one of Liangshan continent's very mainstream gambling methods. That was to arrange 9 pavilions, placing in them 9 red and black blocks. Guessing correctly won the bet. The rules were very simple, the explanation very easy. In actuality, the 9 palaces array was one of the most difficult types of betting. And the reason was precisely because it was so simple. It was simple to the point that it completely lacked meaningful and varied data and material for you to calculate and analyze. You could only rely on intuition about the atmosphere. Gambling skill also relied on luck to win, it could be said, and to Su Xing, the type of gambler that used calculations, this happened to be his greatest weakness. Of course, This was the most original and most fair to both sides. Su Xing was pensive. He used 3 fingers to tap the desk. He had just finished tapping when 9 porcelain bowl-like palaces appeared on the table. Then Yi Futu placed the red and black blocks into the 9 palaces. Of course, Su Xing could not have known which, and the 9 palaces had a special array. It was incapable of being seen through, meaning, other than Yi Futu himself, no one else would know under which of the pavilions the red and black blocks were positioned. Looking at Su Xing, his right hand stretched level, unfolded and drew 1 character in front of him. Please speak. You only need to guess half correctly. From the very start, there was no psychology to analyze, just a simple red and black differentiation, so Su Xing did not think too much at all. Without any expression or any hesitation, he guessed the first was black. Your luck seems to be a bit bad. Yi Futu smiled, and said as the first of the 9 palaces was revealed. Inside there was a red block. The first was a mistake. It looks like this is not a good sign. At the same time he spoke, the casino's grandeur began to progress as Yi Futu anticipated. This was the psychological warfare that Su Xing was familiar with. Using speech to disturb the enemy's reasoning. This move was very familiar to him, so he did not mind this at all. He sat upright in his chair and said, in all his life, a person needs only to be correct 10 times in a row to already be unequaled in the world. What is so amazing about 1 mistake? Su Xing's words made Yi Futu smile. It appears I should address Brother Su as senior. Please name the second. This round, Su Xing did not decide so quickly. He began to ponder, but after considering for a long while, he apparently did not obtain a result. The reason was very simple. The ways he could choose were honestly too few. It was either red or black. Any more accurate calculation and speculation, in this world of black and red, appeared to be of no avail. Furthermore, this was something arranged beforehand. There absolutely could not be any cheating. Even if Su Xing's divine intent was any stronger, he could not possibly see through this. During this time, if he wanted to accurately know just what color was under the porcelain bowls, there was only one way. And that was to see into Yi Futu's mind, to make this master that had set up the game of chance tell you the answers. This made Su Xing recall the bet he made that day with Yilingxi. He had similarly used a mind trick, but he did not expect Yi Futu to return the favor. Interesting. However, despite his interest, guessing the red and black blocks still gave Su Xing a headache. In battle, he could exploit his target's attack movements, their rhythm, tone, and other aspects to advance his judgment in all aspects. However, once at the betting table, especially against this shrewd Yi Futu, Su Xing found that his understanding of his opponent was no different from a stranger. He completely did not know what Yi Futu was thinking of. And this Yi Futu from start to finish wore an unfathomable smile. It seemed he would not leave a gap. In such a blank state, Su Xing shook his head. The direction he pushed towards was still black. This kind of bet appeared exceedingly innocuous. Even the most average gambler would play like this. However, at this very moment, Su Xing could only do so. Even if this move made him feel gloomy. The truth is painful, but the truth is the truth. Yi Futu was expressionless as before when he opened the bowl. The block inside was a flaming red. Su Xing sullenly looked at the second red block, not saying anything for the longest time. This time, Su Xing's expression became one of knowing. He nodded. Gamblers can be divided into 2 types. One type bets according to science and logic, the other bets according to feeling. It seems Brother Su is the former. However, betting on feeling is certainly not a good portent. Yi Futu smiled. Furthermore, Su Xing could not possibly permit himself to act according to his impulses. On Yi Futu's evaluation, Su Xing did not say anything. When guessing the third, he ought to select red, but Su Xing did not have such an urge. He selected the other path. Again he selected all black. The third bowl opened to reveal another red. At this time, Yilingxi's dejected expression was ecstatic, her eyes glowing. You are just a rookie after all. Elder brother had deliberately lost those 2 games just now, definitely. The fourth bowl was still black. The result was shocking again, still red. If it was not for her elder brother losing twice before, Yilingxi very much wanted to ridicule him without restraint. Now Su Xing had already guessed 4. Another one wrong and he would lose. Now Gong Caiwei was somewhat impatient, and she inquired Zhu Sha. The resourceful strategist's stone-like face appeared to see through the mundane world. Not saying anything, her gaze was already aimed on Su Xing. Guess another one, and you will lose. Still black, correct? This you will win. Yi Futu seemed to be saying a very simple thing. Well spoken. Su Xing looked and shrugged his shoulders. He somewhat dully said, all black. Open the rest together. Don't waste time. Like a shattered pot, if each and every one of those was opened, then the chance that the bowls were black or red was half. But for the 6 bowls to all be black, the probability was low at 20%. This was a simple application of probability. It did not appear too brilliant, but under the current situation, this was the best path Su Xing could find according to the logic he reflected over. But this logic had a fatal flaw. This was that he could lose on any one of the next 5 bowls. Yi Lingxi had never seen such an unbelievable betting style. She thought that he finally was about to lose to her big brother. If they were open one by one, he would still have a chance. Opening all 5 together, this was apparently a dead end. But the result was outside of everyone's expectations. They were surprisingly all black. Without exception. The smile on Yi Lingxi's face vanished. Immediately, she was flabbergasted, shocked beyond words. Ha! Yi Lingxi wanted to scream. This was too unfair. It appears that luck is on my side. Su Xing smiled. Yi Futu could not smile. He merely sighed. Up until the end, he had never swayed Su Xing's thinking. He had originally thought to use the first 4 reds to confuse him. Elder brother, what were you doing? Yi Lingxi screamed. Nothing, I lost. Yi Futu narrowed his eyes. Yi Lingxi was beside herself. She had yet to free herself of the situation that her elder brother had completely lost, but it was actually Yi Futu himself that appeared quite unperturbed. He had wanted to pry into Su Xing this time. He did not view victory as important at all. Although he had lost all 3 games, his little gain was not a trifle. Yi Futu actually somewhat understood why immortal hero Princess Gong Caiwei would walk so close to this man. Indeed, he was somewhat capable. After a few more words, Yi Futu excused himself, and Yi Lingxi was dragged away, muddle-headed. Before leaving, those eyes that could once spout fire were already completely lightless. That the big brother she adored the most in her heart was defeated was a significant blow to her. On the road, Yi Lingxi grasped at some last remaining straws, unwilling to give up, and asked, Elder brother, you must have lost to Su Xing deliberately, right? To let him be arrogant and counterattack later. It must be this, right? Yi Futu glanced at her. Lingxi, do not cause any more trouble. He is a supervoid cultivator. If you irritate him, even father cannot protect you. Yi Lingxi did not cultivate. Ever since she was little, she had grown up in an ivory tower. She was not like the immortal hero princess or the Lingyan princess who participated in the cruel star duels, and she had no knowledge of a supervoid cultivator was. However, seeing her big brother speak so seriously, Yi Lingxi knew that revenge was impossible. The girl begrudgingly agreed. Bingxin, what is your perspective? Yi Futu secretly posed the question to Bingxin. Very formidable, and he can contract multiple star generals. How Bingxin muttered. Star generals all had a psychic recognition for cultivators that matured after the star duels they were part of began. Based on this, they could know whether or not their counterpart could sign a contract. The reason Yi Futu allowed Hao Bingxin to appear was to 1. Give Su Xing the impression of a favor, and the second reason was to let her sense Su Xing's identity. As expected, Yi Futu's expression became profound. But his cultivation is so high supervoid stage. Currently, the Azure Dragon territory only has Xie Yuan and Zhao Hanyan as the 2 star masters that are this high, correct? Hao Bingxin was speechless. If he has contracted multiple star generals, and he has very good luck, reaching supervoid is not odd. Yi Futu sneered. Does Futu know who he is? Hao Bingxin could hear his implication. Of those currently shocking Liangshan continent, who else could he be but the Purple Thunder Monster? Yi Futu stroked his chin. He is the Purple Thunder Monster? I felt that he was a very good person. Hao Bingxin blinked her eyes, crossing her arms and pondering pensively. Futu was not guessing groundlessly. In fact, he had concealed some elements in the 3 betting games. In chess, his thinking was very fast. This demonstrates that his divine intent is very strong, and that he is a strategist. Is this not like the knowledge star's innate skill? And what was the second bet? Hao Bingxin asked. The second was martial arts, and the answer was even more clear. Futu narrowed his eyes, and his smile became awe-inspired. Even when I have your innate skill, with lifelong cultivated martial arts and the stupa black in flame, I obtained from the immemorial ruin vermilion bird ring, was surprisingly unable to overcome him. Even a supervoid sword saint could not possibly make me so powerless. Furthermore, several aspects of his actions have a star general's feel. Futu carefully thought. Those mist-like body techniques, his swift and severe boxing, his excellent combat thinking, and even his concealment ability all seem to originate from this reason. After returning to the Azure Dragon territory, Futu investigated information about the Purple Thunder monster, and he was vaguely aware of his situation, like those hazy body techniques that were possibly due to Bright Star 10 feet of blue Husanyang, the boxing from skillful star wanderer Yanqing, and of course, there was that majestic star panther head Lin Chang's battle doctrine that no one in Liangshan was oblivious to. If this is the case, Futu, you losing is not unjust. Hao Bingxin sighed, still feeling that Su Xing appeared relatively benevolent, unlike that star-killing, blood-sucking mad demon from legend. 2. Futu, and what was that third game? Hao Bingxin asked. The third 9 palaces was just that I actually wanted to beat him. Futu grinned wryly, so he deliberately arranged for the first 4 to all be red. By doing so, anyone would have, after seeing 4 consecutive reds, chosen a red for the last 5. If the other player did this, they would have undoubtedly lost, but he did not expect that Su Xing would choose black all the way, in the end, surprisingly opening all 5, leaving no room for leeway. If he truly was a star master, Futu unexpectedly felt fear. Some time ago, before the Longevity Palace, the Purple Thunder monster's cultivation was merely supercluster middle stage. There is no reason for him to be able to advance so quickly, and the Purple Thunder monster was proficient in a sort of purple chi or purple thunder. Though I did not see it, perhaps I am being oversensitive. Futu muttered, unclear whether or not this was to console himself. The petite porcelain-like girl turned her head back when she heard his words. Her cute expression seemed to be thinking, is he actually the Purple Thunder monster? Are you actually the Purple Thunder monster? Gong Caiwei stared at Su Xing. Su Xing was taken aback. He smiled. Caiwei, you mean to say Futu is currently thinking about my identity? Gong Caiwei nodded. Even if he was not, he probably would have also guessed this. Su Xing objected. In chess, Futu displayed too much caution and care. In their spar, he also demonstrated exceptional martial arts. The last 9 palaces game was also considerably coincidental. In the end, Su Xing also had a certain understanding of Futu. Hearing him say this, Gong Caiwei knew that her worries were superfluous. The 2 of them returned to the Four Seas Hall. At this time, the banquet had already been underway for some time. Emperor Liang had already finished his speech and was sitting straight and upright on the platform. The other sects began to chat with each other, conversing. The atmosphere was heavy. Lianxin, how is the banquet progressing? Su Xing returned to the Four Styles School. Tang Lianxin summarized what had happened. For this Alliance of 10 banquet, other than what was scheduled concerning the Alliance of 10 conference, Emperor Liang had specially come with an announcement. The Along the River during Qingming portrait of the Great Liang Imperial Palace's forbid dance has been stolen, and the Emperor has compelled the Azure Dragon territories sects to unite and pursue the enemy. Apparently, there were several Star Masters, their cultivations all at Supervoid stage. They easily avoided the Imperial Palace's eyes and ears to arrive at the forbid dance. Afterwards they triggered the Forbidden Saray, but they still stole away the Along the River during Qingming. Now everyone is discussing this matter. Ruan Hongxue pursed her lips and said, I feel that the Purple Thunder monster's helpers have appeared. Otherwise, what is the point of stealing that along the river during Qingming? If not to raise a reign of terror, releasing that prehistoric Liao Emperor. 3. There was even something like this? Su Xing was taken aback. The Star Masters were all Supervoid stage. Gong Caiwei wrinkled her brow. The Supervoid puppets of the great Liang national scholar were no match. The cultivators that the Imperial Palace's star-sifting pavilion had nurtured were beaten into utter defeat. I heard those star generals were very formidable. Their martial arts were excellent, perhaps heavenly star level. Ruan Honged aside. I fear the Purple Thunder Monster has finished searching for the information he wanted in the Azure Dragon territory. He has called the Black Turtle territories devil cults in preparation for an invasion of the Azure Dragon territory. It must be. That Purple Thunder Monster by himself has made humiliating the 10 great sects a common occurrence. Ruan Hongxue pursed her lips. Su Xing felt quite wronged. Just as he was about to say something. Suddenly, a stern voice boomed through the Four Seas Hall. That Star Master is not the Purple Thunder Monster, and has absolutely no relation with the Purple Thunder Monster. We shall reaffirm that. Emperor Liang coldly spoke, and the entire place was shaken into speechlessness. 5. Your Highness, why are you so certain of this? Northern Darkness has Fish gently smiled, leisurely drinking his wine. The star generals who attacked the Forbid Dance were not Lin Chong or Wu Song. They were all never-before-seen faces, and the Star Master who broke the array was an old man. If the Purple Thunder Monster is collaborating with the Black Turtle Territory's devil cults and the Vermilion Bird Territory's demi-clans, then we invite everyone to not forget that the Vermilion Bird Territory and Black Turtle Territory both hold enmity deep as the ocean against him. We have informed everyone of this to hear your thoughts, not to simply jump to conclusions. Emperor Liang indifferently said. Every single one of his moments was quite imposing. Northern Darkness has Fish objected. These words are a mistake. Your Highness also should be aware that the Purple Thunder Monster's background has always been a mystery, but his conduct and deeds have nevertheless raised a foul wind and bloody rain in the 3 territories. He knows that he has already become the target of everyone in the star duels. Perhaps stealing the along the river during Qingming is an attempt to pull against the tide, to handle the other Star Masters. Emperor Liang, do not forget, he previously released the Ghost Cavalry King. Emperor Liang's forehead wrinkled. His heart was a bit gloomy. He clearly knew that the Purple Thunder Monster could not possibly go steal the along the river during Qingming, but upon careful thought, the Purple Thunder Monster's actions honestly left him with nothing to say. The along the river during Qingming has been suppressed with the true Dragon Imperial Qi. Even if it is the Purple Thunder Monster, he would have no way to open it. And those Star Masters are all Supervoid stage. We can actually investigate first, to know of the Vermilion Bird Territory and Black Turtle Territory's Supervoid stage Star Masters. Xu Xindao said calmly. Do not forget about the White Tiger Territory's prehistoric Demonkin. 6. Perhaps the Purple Thunder Monster's true identity is that he originated from the White Tiger Territory. The true Immortal Hall's Outer Void Immortal said with icy arrogance. The fairy's words are extremely true. However, the interlopers have stolen the along the river during Qingming. Perhaps he knows the along the river during Qingming like the back of his hand. Perhaps he does have some way to open the seal. The Outer Void Immortal continued. Xu Xindao agreed. And the White Tiger Territory has always been very mysterious since ancient times. But it is actually strange that the White Tiger Territory would also have Star Masters. In short, we ask everyone present to lay down their grudges. First, we investigate clearly the intruders. Everyone does not want the Azure Dragon Territory to be destroyed, correct? The Vermilion Bird Territory and Black Turtle Territory have always been tigers eyeing prey. If they unite with the White Tiger Territory, Emperor Liang glanced at Northern Darkness has Fish, as if warning him. Everyone changed expressions. Some cultivators showed their hands and wine splashed. Northern Darkness has Fish's face still hung an indifferent smile. If this was before, the Most High Path would perhaps have been the first to join an alliance against a common enemy, to issue grand and heroic words, but now that the Most High Path had been broken into disarray by the Purple Thunder Monster, even if the Azure Dragon Territory were to be destroyed, Northern darkness has fish would not bat an eye. The other sects were actually worried sick at heart, changing from their previously merry scene. Su Xing listened nearby with a head full of sweat. Along the river during Qingming. True dragon suppression. Prehistoric Liao Emperor. He had never heard of these before. Seeing that the hall was frozen in an unprecedented feeling of crisis, Su Xing curiously asked Tang Lianxin. The solitary star shook her head. How could she know what this was? Do you not know? Gong Caiwei showed a surprised expression, as if she felt disbelief that Su Xing was unaware of what the along the river during Qingming was. This was the dark history that everyone in the Azure Dragon territory knew about. Even a 3-year-old child would be frightened by the name of the prehistoric Liao Emperor. Su Xing, you do not actually come from the White Tiger territory, do you? Gong Caiwei blinked. If I actually am from the White Tiger territory, what will you do? Su Xing curiously asked. If you actually are and you want to release the prehistoric Liao Emperor, then I. Gong Caiwei's expression suddenly became sharp. Will kill you. She did not hesitate to spit out those 3 words. Before Su Xing could feel hurt, Gong Caiwei then calmly added on another sentence. And then I will take my life to follow you. If you would truly put justice before friends and family, then you'd better forget about dying together for love. Su Xing laughed. Gong Caiwei was silent. Only then did she explain the along the river during Qingming. 1,000 years ago, 50 years before the start of the Star Duels, the White Tiger Territory's demon clans once launched a desperate invasion. And there was an ancestral demon that came out of the White Tiger Territory. This one declared the name Liao, and was addressed as the prehistoric Liao Emperor, leading more than 1,000 demon beasts and demi-clans in a massacre of the Azure Dragon. In those years, the Azure Dragon territory's blood flowed like a river, with corpses strewn everywhere. Blood-red clouds covered the Azure Dragon territory 888 days too, without scattering. The entire Azure Dragon territory was submerged in a sea of blood. Thousands upon thousands of sects united together. The cultivators' casualties were countless, but they finally repelled the Liao Kingdom's invasion. However, that prehistoric Liao Emperor and company were nevertheless extremely formidable. Already at transforming Star of Annihilation, a stage of indestructibility and immortality. At that time, the Azure Dragon territory had no way of taking them down. Afterwards, the great Liang's national scholar Zhang Zhengdao III used a magic weapon that he had cultivated for all his life. This magic weapon was that along the river during Qingming, more than 100 supervoid cultivators united to erect the array, finally sealing the prehistoric Liao Emperor within the portrait. So as to avoid the prehistoric Liao Emperor ever again emerging as a scourge to the Azure Dragon, they placed it into the Great Liang Kingdom's leyline suppression, exploiting the leyline and the imperial family's true dragon son of Heaven Qi to attempt to refine away the prehistoric Liao Emperor. Although that nightmarish, bloody history had already passed 1,000 years ago, it was still carved deeply into the depths of the minds of everyone in the Azure Dragon territory. Today, the along the river during Qingming had been stolen. It was no wonder all the cultivators would discuss this change. With the current decline in the Azure Dragon territory's cultivators, the number of supervoid cultivators could be counted on fingers. If the prehistoric Liao Emperor emerged, who could defy her? Could the legendary Star Maidens of Maiden Mountain? Perhaps not a single Star Master would involve themselves in this. After they scaled Maiden Mountain, whatever happened to the Azure Dragon territory was none of their concern. Transforming Star of Annihilation cultivator? Su Xing was interested. No wonder the atmosphere was so heavy. Just hearing Gong Caiwei's description, Su Xing could feel chills on his back. One transforming Star of Annihilation cultivator could sweep across Liangshan, but several? That was indeed helplessness in the face of a crisis. Does that White Tiger territory Liao Kingdom still exist? Tang Lianxin asked. That was the first state to arise in the White Tiger territory since the beginning of recorded history. It was named Great Liao Kingdom. It was perhaps founded by that ancestral demon, a country-toppling power to invade the Azure Dragon territory. With the prehistoric Liao Emperor sealed, the Liao Kingdom was destroyed. After this, the White Dragon territory was quiet for 1,000 years. Gong Caiwei answered. This means that those cultivators who stole the along the river during Qingming may be a few remnant fangs of the great Liao. Su Xing muttered. Gong Caiwei precisely felt this, so she asked Su Xing if he had come from the White Tiger territory. Relax, I won't let you die with me in the name of love. Su Xing patted Gong Caiwei's shoulder. Could she have been refined with such a long amount of time? Tang Lianqin asked. This was a difficult question to answer. After all, that Liao Emperor's realm was terrifyingly high. All of Liangshan continent had no way. Who knew if the true dragon Imperial Qi was capable of refining him? The originally spirited banquet now had a somber atmosphere because of this along the river during Qingming matter. Finally, when the banquet adjourned, everyone was brooding. Each and every person had strained faces. Even the ancestral masters of the 10 great sects had grave expressions. Su Xing, I am going to buy some things. Do you want to go together? Wan Hongxue asked. You go on ahead. Su Xing watched Emperor Liang. After Emperor Liang left, he absent-mindedly followed along. In the Alliance of 10 banquet, he did not see Zhao Hanyan's figure. Su Xing had an increasingly uneasy feeling of foreboding. In a studio, the fragrance of tea. Emperor Liang stood straight in front of the window, his arms behind his back, deep in contemplation. Your distinguished self, what have you planned following me here? Emperor Liang said aloud, his voice neither loud nor soft, neither cold nor warm. Su Xing's hiding was already considerably brilliant, yet Emperor Liang easily saw through it. He was not the Azure Dragon territory's #1 without reason. Your Majesty, I have something I would like to consult on. Su Xing deferentially said. Emperor Liang turned around, his brow wearing a lifetime of augustness. We wonder what that would be? Your servant has a matter to discuss with the Lingyan princess. May your servant ask why she has not come? When Su Xing finished asking, he immediately felt a seemingly substantive pressure pounce into his face, as if a towering mountain was pressing heavily upon him. Emperor Liang was still extraordinarily mighty, but those sharp eyes were locked firmly on Su Xing. Su Xing remained calm and unruffled. He had a strong feeling of cool breeze brushing against a hill. So you are that Su Xing? Emperor Liang's brow slightly wrinkled, not nearly recognizing him. This boy was surprisingly already supervoid stage. This speed was rather too fast. Precisely. Su Xing was calm. His killing intent immediately disappeared without a trace. Emperor Liang slightly smiled. So it is you. We heard Hanyan mention you before. And it appears that thou art actually exceptional. Her eyesight seems to be very good. If your servant offended your majesty before, then your servant asks for forgiveness. Su Xing chuckled. This old man could not resist flaunting his father-in-law face. Emperor Liang's smile became somewhat profound. He indifferently said, What matter do you seek her for? Personal matters that cannot be mentioned. Your servant wonders if your majesty could inform as to whether Hanyan's most recent situation is well? Emperor Liang smiled. He no longer had that imposing air of an emperor that stood above the populace. On the contrary, he had a bit of benevolence. For you to be able to be so concerned about Hanyan, we feel grateful. It appears that your relationship exceeds our imagination. Pausing, Emperor Liang suddenly turned cold. Then we had better inform you, the Lingyan princess engaged a star master in a star duel. She has already passed away. Your concern is far too late. What did you say? Su Xing was suddenly jolted. His chest was stifled, and in that instant, his heart seemed to rend apart in pain. Su Xing spied a slight craftiness in Emperor Liang's eyes. Immediately he composed himself. Gritting his teeth, Su Xing completely disregarded this great Liang Emperor's majesty and coldly said, Your Majesty, your servant asks that you not joke like this. Emperor Liang laughed. We merely wanted to see if you were sincere or not. Not bad, not bad. It appears the Lingyan princess eyesight is not bad. Su Xing cursed inwardly. Fuck. However, how do you know that what we said is a lie? Falling in the star duels is a very normal matter. Emperor Liang said. With Hanyan's abilities, who could make her fall in the star duels? Su Xing pursed his lips. The 5-tiger general Dong Junqing, and a supervoid cultivation. Any way it was put, Zhao Hanyan was already the #1 star master in the Azure Dragon territory. Whether it was the Holy Lord of Draconic Demon or Lady Snake Scorpion, neither were capable of making the Lingyan Princess starfall. Could it be you have forgotten about the Purple Thunder Monster? Emperor Liang ruminated. The Purple Thunder Monster is impossible. Su Xing chuckled. Are you so certain? That Purple Thunder Monster has disturbed 3 territories, and even the Great Saint Star Killer and Guan Sheng of the Black Turtle territory fell by his hand. Emperor Liang smiled and asked. Bullshit. Of course I am very certain. Su Xing twitched his mouth. Zhao Hanyan is the Purple Thunder Monster's wife. What husband kills his own wife? I am the Purple Thunder Monster. Before Emperor Liang could ask his next question, Su Xing explosively issued this declaration. Seeing Emperor Liang conducted himself shrewdly, he knew that Emperor Liang was most likely aware of his identity. Pretending any further was completely meaningless, so he might as well calmly inform him. Let alone that with his intimate relationship with Zhao Hanyan, he did not fear Emperor Liang would make things difficult. Furthermore, that reaffirmation of his at the banquet demonstrated his position. As expected, Emperor Liang was not surprised at all. He indifferently replied, Su Xing, if your words were heard by the Most High Path or the others, the Lingyan Princess will have great trouble. Is Hanyan cultivating something in seclusion? Su Xing asked. She indeed was heavily injured by a star master and nearly died. Emperor Liang calmly said. What? The unease in his heart finally came true. Su Xing worriedly asked. How is she now? Her condition is not very good. The enemy used a type of prehistoric thunder. Currently, the Lingyan Princess is recuperating in the Warm Phoenix Pavilion. The intertwined branch sword her mother left her is currently protecting her life, but her condition is not optimistic. We have already asked for the Queen Mother to come look after her, but the Queen Mother still needs several days in order to be able to arrive at Bian City. If only she could last until that time. The always unruffled Emperor Liang showed slight worry. I want to go see her, Su Xing coldly said. And she wishes to see you as well. Emperor Liang gave Su Xing an amulet that could allow him to travel unimpeded. If you can provide my daughter with critical care this time. Pausing, Emperor Liang suddenly smiled. We shall allow you to become Hanyan's prince consort and recognize your Purple Thunder Monster identity. Taking several steps, Su Xing suddenly turned his head back and asked in a low voice. Is the Star Master that star-dueled with Hanyan that old man who stole thee along the river during Qingming? Most likely him. Emperor Liang nodded. What, do you know him? I fear he is the thunder spirit of the White Tiger Territory's 7 spirit stars. Su Xing sneered, turning around and leaving the study. Outside the door, Gong Caiwei saw Su Xing exit, his expression a bit unsightly. She asked, What has happened? Is Emperor Liang unfavorable to you? Something has happened to Hanyan. I'm going to see her. Caiwei, sorry, but I can't accompany you for another stroll. Su Xing apologetically said. Gong Caiwei's heart gushed forth with an indescribable complexity. Hanyan's matters are urgent. I shall go with you. But what about the treasure banquet? Su Xing pulled his hair. This back and forth, the treasure banquet was perhaps already at the end of the show. It would be a bit of a shame to miss out on the final, majestic auction. Gong Caiwei's smile was like winter snow. This princess has already purchased the arrays and materials she ought to have in this treasure banquet. As for the Super Void banquet, I originally did not have plans to involve myself, let alone. Zhao Hanyan and I are considered acquaintances. This princess also wishes to know what happened to her. Then good. Su Xing did not shirk any further. Walking out of the Four Seas Palace, Su Xing first sought out Suwen, and simultaneously activated his divine intent to inform the other wives. Very quickly, all the girls gathered together. Su Xing then summarized what had happened to Zhao Hanyan. The wives naturally did not oppose, and finally discussing a bit, Su Xing, Lin Mei, Gongsun Huang, Hunyangzi and Suwen would first move for Bian City. The others would remain at the treasure banquet to continue plans for the star duels. Lin Wangmai, Gongsun Huang, and Hunyangzi mainly were to guard against the third overlord's sneak attack, and Suwen was to treat Zhao Hanyan. By the time that Queen Mother of Westluen arrived, the food would have already gone cold. Papa. Bai Yutong blinked her eyes and extended her hand. There were several bottles of wine. Zhang Yuqi explained. This is the dark rank wine Yearning day and night. 5. That Tangting newly refined over the past few days. Perhaps it will be useful. Tangting is certainly attentive of you, Papa. The damaged star giggled. Thank you, Tangting. Su Xing stroked her head. He smiled at Wu Xinjie and the others. And many thanks to the other wives for your care. Since when am I one of your wives? The Hua Wanyue and the crowd that had been called back frowned in bewilderment. The clanging sounds of battle echoed in the wide street. Powerful killing intent flowed in every direction, and no one else existed in a range of 400 to 500 meters. Bang! Throwing daggers glinted, and a cool and elegant, general-like girl appeared. The young girl's hands held a pair of clubs, coldly looking at her opponent. The tall, mature woman standing in front of her held a golden eagle dragon devouring spear. Several flying daggers were sheathed on her back. She was striking Hawk Li Qingqiao. Careful, Li Ying's star master already has super void cultivation. Xie Chang'an shouted. He controlled his flying swords and magic weapons, barely withstanding Shizhou Ying's suppression. Shizhou Ying evilly sneered. It truly is a waste for a pretty boy like you to contract a 5 tigers generals. You look so out of place. Prestige star double clubs Huyan Shuang's face was like frost as her figure swayed. She once again suddenly pressed in close. She had barely flashed past those oppressive dragon-slaying flying dagger when a slim lance already appeared in front of her, completely without any noise. Her rippling attack was so close. Yellow rank flying dagger. Dark edge. Li Qingqiao unleashed her full power. The dragon-slaying flying daggers vanished into the air. When they reappeared, they thrust into Huyan Shuang's armor. Huyan Shuang grunted, and her figure suddenly turned around and recoiled. At the same time, her double clubs became whips that danced. Rippling, wave-like killing intent followed closely behind. Li Qingqiao stopped in midair, her hostility suddenly magnifying, her speed increasing. She unexpectedly straddled across the twisting killing intent, easily shredding this attack. Li Qingqiao accelerated the instant she attacked. Her speed was already fast beyond reason, and Huyan Shuang was unable to perceive her. Under such an attack, Huyan Shuang unexpectedly could not evade. One took a step back, the other a step forward. They moved like a swift wind, surprisingly nearly reaching the edge of the street in several breaths' time. Li Qingqiao had the support of a super void cultivator. With this, the ranked 11th wealth star had sufficiently powerful star energy to contest a 5 tigers general. No longer able to hesitate, Huyan Shuang grit her teeth, and her body quickly spun around. In midair, she abruptly shifted, and the wind and moon unmatched let out a hiss in the air. In that ear-piercing shattering sound, Huyan Shuang's attack ripped apart Li Qingqiao's flying daggers. A sneer appeared on Li Qingqiao's face. This was the first time she had seen an opponent who was still capable of counterattacking under her extreme speed. It had to be mentioned that in instantaneous speed at short range, she believed herself a paragon without equal. As expected of a 5 tiger general, she could not be underestimated at all. Huyan Shuang was inwardly shocked. Her beautiful black hair was blown into a mess by the wind pressure. She stamped her foot and crouched, spinning away to dodge as she wielded her whips in one smooth motion. Huyan Shuang instantly completed an evade and counterattack motion. The wind and moon unmatched wrapped around Li Qingqiao's golden eagle dragon devouring spear. The other whip mercilessly lashed at her. Bright mind dragon carving. Li Qingqiao did not hesitate to use her dark rank spear technique. Huyan Shuang's attack was already so skilled, but Li Qingqiao's spear was faster. A dragon-like shadow shot out from her spear, as if it possessed its own intelligence and consciousness. Li Qingqiao practically did not stop in midair as she somersaulted. Metal rang, and the spear moved back and forth to block the wind and moon unmatched's attack. Huyan Shuang sneered. Her attack had only just begun. The Prestige Star's double whips rose simultaneously. In a split second, she raised a blizzard and dead leaves. She had used her yellow technique, Wine Flower Leaf Fall, Snow Moon without scar. Enormous power immediately made Li Qingqiao lose her balance. Her hand loosened in passing, and the double whips brought a graceful wave of encirclement. In midair fights, Li Qingqiao's realm was raised several levels. She avoided Huyan Shuang's right whip, but Huyan Shuang was not done yet. Her left whip quickly followed. The glittering golden whip that was like sunlight brilliantly pulled Li Qingqiao's leg, throwing this wealth star-striking hawk onto the ground. The hawk that lost the sky seemed to have had its wings clipped. Li Qingqiao's innate skill instantly lost its usefulness. Immediately afterwards, Huyan Shuang's firework turning into cold was used without mercy. A faint wind roared and followed her whip's attack, its power visible. Li Qingqiao could only subconsciously evade. Circling around, Huyan Shuang's left whip nevertheless followed once more. In this way, the double whips alternated their sweeps, fluttering up and down, looping around one another, not stopping at all. She did not give Li Qingqiao any room to think, and at the same time, she made Huyan Shuang stop her thought process. Wind and moon unmatched practically spun like a windmill, endless. Like a firework blossoming, the instant dimness and brightness were magnificent. This practically made the cultivators forget the danger of these double whips. Li Qingqiao was shocked. Suffering through several bouts, her internal organs burned as if they had been struck to pieces by the whips. How could the Five Tigers general let her go? Huyan Shuang was just about to obtain success in one stroke when suddenly at this moment, a figure appeared in front of Li Qingqiao, like a divine tree from ancient times. Shurjiu Ying's eyes released a ruthless glint. Smirking, green leaves like blades repelled her. Yuan Shuang retreated, raising her double whips. She smashed apart the falling leaves, and at the same time, the enemy already took this chance to escape. Huyan Shuang stowed her whips and took a deep breath. She looked down to discover her chest was in slight pain. A leaf had apparently pierced through her armor and stuck into her flesh. Huyan Shuang was shaken. She extracted this leaf, which emitted a faint, demon qi. "Shuanger, are you alright?" Xie Chang'an ran over. "This is interesting. A demonkin star master has surprisingly appeared." Huyan Shuang laughed. Seeing that the Crystal Dragon Palace's law enforcement cultivators were making their way over, Xie Chang'an and Huyan Shuang left. "Can it be that you just cannot know your place?" Han Bing coldly stared at the Shurjiu Ying, who returned in a sorry shape. "Five Tigers General. Such a star general is very difficult to encounter. It would be a shame to not battle." Shurjiu Ying sneered. Ling Feishue twitched her lips and blinked. Judging from Qingqiao's injuries, it seems they fought back. Li Qingqiao harumphed. "True star generals can only grow by star dueling those top-notch star generals. Otherwise there is no meaning." Shurjiu Ying objected. Han Bing was completely aware that this bastard was being pompous. Just from merely seeing that the birth treasure outline indicated Huyan Shuang's Star Master was not very strong, he wanted to take this chance to kill a Five Tigers general and obtain star energy to bolster his own strength. The White Tiger had 7 spirit stars, but they knew that only one could rise above the rest. Although everyone listened to Tai Sui's orders, this Shurjiu Ying's personality was merciless, crafty and shifty. She feared that he was unwilling to stay behind. "If you bring trouble, I will not hesitate to get rid of you." Han Bing spat out every single ice-cold word. Shurjiu Ying's expression changed. He was almost indignant, but in the end he did not say anything. "Tai Sui has come." Xian Lao calmly spoke. Only then did the two of them put away their hostile appearances. "Tai Sui." Han Bing wrinkled her brow. She noticed that Xiang Chenxing was injured, and she did not see his star general Zhou Zhiyun. "Were you unsuccessful?" The impatient vanguard attacked during the process. Zhou Ziyun was killed into the star nest. Song Feng said. He and Xiang Nongmei were actually unscathed. However, that Zhao Heng has been heavily injured by Tai Sui. If it was not for that national scholar's intervention, he would have already star fell. What a pity. Song Feng clicked his tongue. "Grandfather, did you obtain that along the river during Qingming?" Shurjiu Ying expectantly asked. Grandfather Li wore a slight smile. Clearly, things were under control. Song Feng laughed. How can the great Lian Imperial Palace resist Tai Sui? The along the river during Qingming is already in our hands. When can we break the seal? Ying ruthlessly smiled, somewhat impatient to see a bloody carnage in the Azure Dragon territory. With our 7 spirits absolute destruction array, we ought to be able to break the true dragon imperial chi on the portrait, right? Keep calm, Ying. Your temper is a bit impulsive. Grandfather has a plan. Qin Feng said. I understand. Su Xing urgently arrived in Bian City. Carrying the amulet Emperor Liang gave him, he directly entered the warm Phoenix Pavilion. Dong Junqing was standing guard beside Zhao Hanyan. Seeing an intruder, she was immediately furious. However, upon seeing it was Su Xing, her fury became astonishment. Why have you come? Is Hanyan all right? Su Xing wrinkled his brow as he sat at her bedside. Zhao Hanyan's face was pale, colorless, and her breathing had become a bit labored. Su Xing felt her meridians. He had barely touched Zhao Hanyan's skin when he felt numbness. This is the thunder that Emperor Liang spoke of? The princess has up until now been unable to awaken. This thunder has sealed all of her meridians. Dong Junqing had originally been a bit worried, but the strange thing was that after she saw Su Xing had arrived, she suddenly felt enormous relief. Although she did not like this man stealing the Lingyan princess' heart, she admitted that he could definitely save Zhao Hanyan. So when you take a look, Su Xing said. Efficacious star divine physician and Suan first used spiritual aura distribution. Then, good fortune appeared and released its dense essence chi for protection. And Suan felt her pulse for a long while, and the star crest on her forehead twinkled. Taking advantage of this time, Su Xing inquired Dong Junqing about the sequence of events. The steadfast star did not wish to speak about this embarrassing matter at all. But following Su Xing's promise that this could be critical to saving Zhao Hanyan, she had no choice but to tell Su Xing everything about that day. To be instantly dispatched, Dong Junqing had never felt more disgraced. Her face burned. Before, she could still maintain a kind of arrogance in front of Su Xing. Now she had been torn to pieces. You were surprisingly killed into the star nest in one strike. Lin Yingmei's brow locked tight. Dong Junqing nearly ground her teeth apart. This general was careless. This general had originally thought her to be a not-so-impressive star general, but her speed was extremely fast. The instant she unsheathed her blade, her power was ample. I completely did not foresee this. How could you be so careless? How can you protect Hanyan like this? Su Xing rebuked her. Fuck you. Dong Junqing truly felt wronged. She hatefully glared at Su Xing, seeing the concern he had for Zhao Hanyan on his face. The steadfast star grunted and did not go bicker, but she knew that she had indeed lost face in this incident. No matter how it was put, she was but a 5 tigers general. To be surprisingly killed instantly, this was simply a disgrace. Dong Junqing was very clear that she perhaps would not have the confidence to climb into the Lingyan princess bed after this. Unlucky. Gong Caiwei's expression was strange. Seeing the steadfast star of the 5 tigers general surprisingly be lectured by Su Xing. Who would have believed this? Upon seeing Dong Junqing's cold face, Su Xing did not mind her. After all, it was somewhat difficult for Su Xing to accept that Dong Junqing had been defeated this time. Yingmei, this general wishes to duel with you. Dong Junqing had no place to let out her anger. Seeing Ling Yingmei, she was both jealous and eager. If I lose, Junqing will no longer oppose the matters between your master and princess from this point on, but you will not win. Lin Yingmei interrupted her. Lin Yingmei and Dong Junqing went to the back garden for their contest. Gong Caiwei asked Su Xing, "Is this good? To let Dong Junqing duel Lin Yingmei at this stage?" "It's fine." Dong Junqing had an enormous shock this time. Just letting Mei help her vent. Su Xing looked at Dong Junqing's back. He knew of the dejection in this proud 5 tigers general's heart. Otherwise, how could the steadfast star remain silent and not retort when he rebuked her? With things as they are now, the White Tiger Territory's 7 spirit stars are growing increasingly bold. Their star general's martial arts are also very exceptional. If Lin Yingmei CNA helped Dong Junqing promote her martial arts realm, then that is a good thing. Su Xing pondered. You thought of this for her sake. She definitely will realize it. Gong Caiwei slightly smiled. She ought to. Su Xing smiled, and his gaze looked to Zhao Hanyan as he again sunk into silence. And Suwen was still using her magic for treatment. The electricity in Zhao Hanyan's body occasionally leapt out terrifyingly from her flesh. Just what method did that Star Master use to surprisingly be able to reduce Zhao Hanyan to this state? Gong Caiwei's brows were very deeply wrinkled. To instantly dispatch the Azure Dragon Territory's #1 Star Master, even if she was a bit careless, any way this was put, this was absolutely impossible unless his power was outstanding. Gong Caiwei asked herself if it had been her that encountered that enemy, would she have been any better off than Zhao Hanyan? You have to be a bit more careful too, Caiwei. Su Xing said with concern. Move into the Longevity Palace. I don't want to see something like this happen to you. Do you truly wish for this? Gong Caiwei whispered. And why? Gong Caiwei raised her head. Those two eyes of ice and snow were limpid. The girl was rather earnest. What why? Su Xing did not understand. Since you have the Lingyan princess as a wife, just what place do I have at all in your heart? Gong Caiwei slowly spat out each word. The immortal hero princess appeared indifferent, but her slightly shuddering body still betrayed the anxiousness in her heart. Hearing Gong Caiwei's outrageous declaration, Su Xing could still understand her thoughts even if he was any more sluggish, but he honestly did not know how to respond to Gong Caiwei's question. Of course you are my confidant. Gong Caiwei cast a sidelong glance at him. He could not tell if she was angry or delighted. The immortal hero princess indifferently nodded. Big brother, Suwen fears that examining Zhao Hanyan will take some time. Does Big brother want to so watch Sister Yingmei and Sister Junqing for now? And Suwen wiped her sweat, somewhat apologetic. Su Xing knew her intention. The efficacious star probably required a quiet environment. Sorry. Su Xing apologized. No, big brother, you misunderstand. Suwen only wants to make good fortune activate its magic to examine the state of Zhao Hanyan's body. No one can disturb it. And Suwen promptly explained. Su Xing smiled and said, Little sister, I leave everything to you. Suwen knows. And Suwen nodded. Courtyard. The maids and bodyguards were currently scared witless, maintaining a far distance from the battle. The powerful sounds of battle raised by their strength scattered sparks in the surroundings. The rock garden river and myriad flowers shuddered uncontrollably under this fury. Occasionally, they shook with an ear-piercing rumble. Yingmei, do you feel that Junqing is very incompetent? Dong Junqing yelled, venting the anger in her heart during battle. Lin Yingmei stepped back, her hand gripping the Arctic Star Serpent spear. The girl calmly said, Rage is unable to resolve any problems, but the current you needs this. Yingmei, in fact, this general needs to make love to you even more. Dong Junqing chuckled. Use you ability and try it. Lin Yingmei pointed the spear at her. Dong Junqing's expression was a lewd smile, yet her eyes were full of grimness and seriousness. Perhaps this was her true nature. Dong Junqing's hand gripped her dragon and phoenix yin-yang spears and attacked. Lin Yingmei's Arctic Star Serpent spear pierced the sky, and an ice-cold chill suddenly spread in all directions. The girl shouted, her power fierce. Countless icicles shot forth, and killing intent flowed on the spear's tip, directly forming a small, localized storm. The majestic star's innate skill was battle doctrine, so she naturally knew what Dong Junqing needed now was a battle to her heart's content in order to increase her realm. She would not hold back at all against the panther head. On the other side, steadfast star double spears Dong Junqing showed a sharp expression. Her warm-colored dragon spear drew a winding line in the ice and snow. The spear tip of the destined star weapon was like a budding flower, each thrust full of a stifled beauty. At this moment, countless snowflake-like red lights fluttered about Lin Yingmei's body, like a swarm of never-sleeping fireflies. The combined attacks of the two great five tiger generals Lin Yingmei and Dong Junqing displayed the beautiful extremes of red and white. One had danced steps of snow-like grace. One had a fiery soul of icy arrogance. When Su Xing and Gong Caiwei walked over, they just happened to see this scene and showed satisfied smiles. This feeling was not bad. Lin Yingmei spun and brandished her spear in passing. First contact was with Dong Junqing's glinting eyes full of licentiousness, but these black pupils were not like before. Instead, They were full of a deep tranquility. Each and every moment, she swept with the formless lightning of thunderclouds. That was an expression Yearning Mei could not be more familiar with. The eyes that only a true martial general could possess. The corner of Yearning Mei's lips slightly curled, but even she herself did not notice. Take this. The majestic star was clearly very immersed in this battle. Compared to the internecine strife of the star duels, perhaps a battle to lecture a sister made the panther head very happy. And each blow was full of the swiftness and severity of one acting with the love of an older sister. I do not want this kind of love from you. Dong Junqing shouted. The double spears and the single long spear crossed in midair time and time again. Yearning Mei continued to stab sharply. Dong Junqing beautifully sidestepped away, and she immediately descended like a hawk. The dragon and phoenix yin-yang spears let out the cries of a dragon and phoenix. She attacked with both spears. It appeared as though Yearning Mei could not avoid this. A metallic ring. Yearning Mei's speed suddenly accelerated, greatly shocking Dong Junqing. The Arctic Star Serpent Spear flashed by. The majestic star easily evaded this pincer attack, the power upon her spear blowing away the combination attack of the double spears. Tremendous strength at the girl's side let out a thin beam of light. Dong Junqing, this is not enough. Yearning Mei coldly asserted. The spear in Yearning Mei's hand easily waved about, shooting towards her opponent like lightning. The attack suddenly changed en route, unfathomable as the afterimage of moonlight. Dong Junqing promptly crossed her arms amidst her amazement, attempting to block, but such a profound trick was nevertheless unable to hinder the majestic star's thoroughly cold pace. The spear tip that was knocked aside instantly counterattacked like a viper, completely not leaving any breathing room at all. Like a snow leopard wandering within a blizzard, Yearning Mei's attack instantly became stiflingly fast. So fast, Dong Junqing was stunned, as if she had returned to the scene of that day. In but an instant, that cool and elegant figure was in front of Dong Junqing. The spear's tip that was wrapped in ice and frost suddenly slashed downwards, bringing a blue light before Dong Junqing's eyes. With flourishing anger, Dong Junqing's blood was thoroughly rushing at this time. She sidestepped this attack. The killing intent of her double spears suddenly changed direction upon touching the ground, shifting from vertical slashes into horizontal sweeps, slicing towards the girl who had jumped into the air. The dragon and phoenix yin-yang spears flourished in a dance, bringing a large expanse of warm yin light sprinkling towards Yearning Mei, like an unstoppable feign wind, tightly trapping her prey. Yellow technique. Yin-yang cross slash. Yearning Mei wore a slightly approving expression, but she was aloof, dashing through. Several bouts later, a hole was finally ripped open in Dong Junqing's defenses. Yearning Mei saw her opportunity, slashing her spear with a sonic boom. An arc of light bright as snow swept towards Dong Junqing, completely without any room for evasion. Dong Junqing had no choice but to block with the spears in her hands at full power. Yet the surly spear's power did not stop in the slightest because of this. It was merely slightly deflected. She pushed down like a mountain. Yearning Mei fiercely roared, her power suddenly magnifying. Dong Junqing felt her wrists grow heavy, and her pace started turn chaotic. She caught sight of Yearning Mei's spear right in front of her face. Dong Junqing helplessly retreated, pulling back a distance away. So powerful. Following Dong Junqing's response, the air suddenly let out a shrill cry. The first thrust raised an ice-cold blizzard that appeared beside her, as if it had already existed in this place. The blizzard flowing on the spear wrapped around her. Such quick speed. Dong Junqing's pupils suddenly contracted. As if she had been struck by a giant, invisible hand, her entire body was suddenly flung backwards. At the same time, the spears in her hands advanced. But Yearning Mei's second attack followed close as a shadow. Like a sudden storm, with a crisp cry, that Arctic Star Serpent Spear instantly twisted over, forming a large net. Next, each of Yearning Mei's attacks became increasingly powerful. This as Dong Junqing was taken aback. Long blizzard nights. A blizzard blew past the flower garden. The flowers and plants were covered in frost, and the rock garden froze solid, as if there was winter. Dong Junqing stood in the cold and shuddered. She felt chills and staring complexly at Yearning Mei. She recalled when they first met in Evil Smiting Hall. She could still evenly match with Lin Wangmai. Now she had already fallen far, far behind. As expected, had she become weak from being too absorbed in loveliness? Dong Junqing lost her spirit. Lin Yingmei stowed her spear. Battle doctrine ended. Junqing, how are you awake yet? An indifferent voice resounded through the cold weather. Dong Junqing regained her composure and spotted Su Xing. The steadfast star knew this was his kindness. Your servant certainly does not want to hear your lecture. Dong Junqing chuckled and pointed at Su Xing. Very good. As long as you have the resolve to protect Zhao Hanyan with your life, I can be at ease. Su Xing nodded. Dong Junqing's expression was unfathomable. She concentrated on Su Xing, something dubious filling her eyes. Su Xing had thought that he was seeing things. You will realize your servant's resolve. At that time, do not be like a coward. Dong Junqing coldly said. Su Xing blinked, not understanding what she was saying. Just as he was about to say something, and Suan happened to finish. Su Xing and the others quickly returned to the warm Phoenix Pavilion. Zhao Hanyan was still in a state of unconsciousness. Yet her complexion was much better, with a bit of color to her face. Suan already knows how to cure her, however. Suan fears this will trouble Big Brother. And Suan said softly, Little sister, just say the word. Su Xing said. This requires the resonance between Big Brother and the Ling Yan Princess intertwined branches. You will transfer spiritual power to the Ling Yan Princess, and then she can recover. But Big Brother's cultivation will diminish. Suan fears Big Brother will fall to supercluster stage. And Suan hesitantly said. Dong Junqing was astonished. This was indeed troublesome. Cultivators did not easily break through into supervoid stage. No one would be willing to drop their supervoid cultivation to supercluster stage. The two realms were worlds apart. She had originally thought that Su Xing would think for a moment. She had just wanted to say something, but how could she have expected that Su Xing would instantly answer? So simple, then let's begin. Su Xing did not waste his breath. All of the girls knew Su Xing's personality, and promptly began to occupy themselves. Like in Suan, everyone had to keep away for something like the intertwined branch sword's resonance to avoid disturbing Su Xing. After they left, Su Xing's divine intent moved, and the intertwined branch sword flew out. When the sword appeared, the intertwined branch sword hovering over Zhao Hanyan's body immediately resonated, letting out a serene green light. A green bridge opened, connecting them. Su Xing's heart felt a kind of unprecedented chill. Zhao Hanyan also groaned in her dream. Su Xing shut his eyes and began to form hand seals. A tree of jade seemed to grow on the intertwined branch sword. Its luxuriant branches and leaves bloomed, and the tree enclosed Su Xing and Zhao Hanyan. Countless translucent, serene green lights followed Su Xing's intertwined sword and flowed into Zhao Hanyan's body. Su Xing immediately sensed his star energy was rapidly draining. What Suan said was completely correct. Perhaps his cultivation would fall to supercluster stage before he could help Zhao Hanyan avert her crisis. Su Xing actually did not care that much, and he continued to add more strength. Suddenly, the two of them immediately entered into a supreme realm of perfect harmony. Outside the gate to the main hall, the girls were currently waiting. Yingmei, have you lost your virginity? Dong Junqing suddenly asked. Gong Caiwei nearly choked. Her expression was odd. Lin Yingmei's face was slightly red. She had a girl's mature charm. Glancing at Dong Junqing, she did not deny this. As expected, it was this. Your servant sensed something was different about you in our battle just now. Dong Junqing nodded in epiphany. A star general that has lost her virginity? Gong Caiwei felt very odd. Could it be you have not thought of the star duels? Lin Yingmei was cold. Your servant, as the majestic star, has no need for a star nest. Gong Caiwei smiled. It appeared that her relationship with Su Xing was truly harmonious. Otherwise, no one would have believed that the 1,000-year star general majestic star would not only sign a contract but even willingly give her virginity to Su Xing. Could it be because of this that you are so powerful, Yingmei? Dong Junqing wrinkled her brow. Because of their fight just now, she discovered that Lin Yingmei's progress was astonishingly quick, and her realm was far higher, to the extent that she was already unable to completely sense her chances of prevailing against Lining Mei. Protecting young master is what your servant ought to do. A wicked glint flashed past Dong Junqing's eyes. Sistering Mei, big brother requires a very long time to help Hanyin recover. Afterwards, perhaps she will still need spiritual medicine to heal the thunder. Suwen is missing an ingredient and wants to seize this time to go harvest. Suwen already knows the place. And Suwen said, I shall accompany you. Hunyangzi said, Elder sister Ingmei, elder sister little Huang, I shall leave dear husband to you. We shall return tomorrow morning. And when Lin Ingmei and Suwen left, Dong Junqing pursed her lips, quite envious. Inside the heavenly sound realm, slipstreams filling the skies became a faint wind that attacked Mu Qingying. In the shadows, a bone-chilling intent broke out. Following close as gangrene on bone, a dagger attacked. This is an assassin's shadow dance steps. It uses superb body techniques to confuse the opponent, help create a diversion with killing intent. Mu Jiyu faintly smiled. Her dagger twisted from her hand, and the airflow broke in succession. Killing intent spread through the air, and assumed the shame of a perfect combination attack. As expected of a first-rate assassin, Mu Qingying was surprisingly dumb as a wooden chicken, completely losing the initiative. How are you the same sort of stupid as your little sister? This is not good. Mu Jiyu mocked. Mu Qingying shouted. She immediately recovered from her shock, the killing intent she raised in fury unexpectedly destroying this berserk shadow. Vanishing into the air, Mu Jiyu's legs arched, immediately leaping a distance a zhang away. The killing intent's power twisted at the place where Mu Jiyu had been before, exploding and evaporating the boiling airflow. Mu Qingying had yet to transition when suddenly, a baleful aura roared at her from every direction simultaneously, like 1,000 daggers attacking her. Elder sister, watch this. Mu Duang also launched a sneak attack. This Bing Qingxian was gloomy. Could it be that this star general did not realize they were learning sneak attacks right now? To unexpectedly counter sneak attack in the middle of a sneak attack, Mu Duang's sneak attack was very swift, but an even faster figure blocked her. Little sis first passed through my checkpoint. Behold little restraints third watch. An insipid voice blew out the killing intent on Mu Duang's dagger, evading the edge. Tearing at the girl. Her dagger was like a viper. Mu Duang snorted, for she had been struck. Learn earnestly. Mu Wuyu smiled. On that side, Mu Qingying was worthy of being called a heavenly star assassin. She very quickly mastered the subject matter, swiftly striding forward. She stepped on shadow, and her shadow split apart. Mu Jiyu sprung to the side. An imposing attack. This layer of ground completely disintegrated. Seeing so many of her sneak attacks unable to handle Mu Jiyu, Mu Qingying's expression was even more sullen. Mu Jiyu used extremely quick speed to close the distance. The edge of her dagger wrapped in lightning as she bombarded. Mu Qingying quickly turned her dagger back. But at this time, Mu Qingying's dagger seemed to vanish like a shadow. Then, a heavily painful strike pierced her chest. Mu Qingying flew away. Can you two actually learn anything? No matter what, you must first comprehend Earth rank. Mu Jiyu's fingers spread open. Her killing intent hacked open the flooded air. Killing intent was swallowed by empty space. Mu Jiyu instantly vanished from where she was standing. Die. Mu Qingying saw this and launched a wild attack. Countless shadows sneak attacked Mu Jiyu's surroundings. It appeared her nimbleness and assassination technique had improved considerably. Mu Jiyu slightly smiled. This actually was not bad. Wrong kill. The shadows bloomed in the air. As if sensing Mu Qingying's determination, Mu Jiyu suddenly shouted and raised her killing intent. A dagger's blade drifted around Mu Qingying's surroundings. Then these dagger chi gathered and dispersed, becoming 7, 8 Mu Jiyu doppelgangers that simultaneously stabbed. If this was only comparing thinking and reactions, how could Mu Qingying surpass the third-generation overlord assassin? An even faster instant movement. Daggers flew over from who knows where, falling in increasing numbers. After Mu Qingying's cold shout, the falling dagger chi bore her killing intent. More and more dagger lights formed a blizzard that attacked Mu Jiyu. The dagger chi was unparalleled. Her killing intent stormy. Interesting. Mu Qingying did not think at all, and a defense suddenly opened. The dagger chi disintegrated, and the killing intent disappeared. Mu Qingying clearly knew that Mu Jiyu would block this. She instantaneously moved in front of Mu Jiyu. Her eyes were chilly, and the daggers whirled and stabbed. Dagger chi strangely spun and spouted, sweeping a hole in the rainwater. Dagger light once again fluttered and descended. So violent? A grin flashed past Mu Jiyu's face. She leaned past this terrifying assassination. She suddenly gripped her dagger, abruptly exerting force. Soundlessly, she instantly shattered Mu Qingying's genius-level high-speed assassination. The dagger this time cut into Mu Qingying's shoulder blade. In the end, she stopped at her windpipe. As long as Mu Jiyu was willing, Mu Qingying could die here. You are still a bit reckless. Mu Jiyu assessed. 2. Just who are you? Bing Qingxian looked at this shocking assassination, asking Xuanla Feifei somewhat in astonishment. Could it be that you are the third-generation assassins? Impossible. Xuanla Feifei wrinkled her brow. Suddenly, she raised her head, her brow locked tight. A figure appeared in the heavenly sound realm. Fairy Xuanla, you truly have given a lot of thought about carrying through with this. She was Chao Gai. Su Xing slowly opened his eyes. His field of view was somewhat blurry. He spotted a gorgeous room and lay atop a warm bed. His consciousness was still a bit heavy. Su Xing carefully thought, recalling that he was helping Zhao Hanyan heal last night by using the intertwined branch swords. The result was that it took a very long time, and when he finally finished, he had fainted. Up until now, his head seemed to be filled with mercury. The sound of flowing water drew Su Xing's attention. He looked and found that a bath was behind the bed, and a glass pane acted as a partition. He could vaguely see a slim figure. Su Xing got up and walked over. Now he only felt a strange feeling, and he only wanted to find someone to ask just what was going on. The bathroom did not have a lock. He very easily could open the door from the outside. The figure of a girl that could be described with every beautiful world appeared before him, but his eyes were still a bit muddled. The girl did not cry out. Without even guessing, Su Xing knew who she was. Hanyan, are you better? Su Xing sighed in relief. Ha, you really completely forgot. Just as the girl was enjoying this, she saw Su Xing standing in front of her. She also confidently emerged and displayed her secret scene. Su Xing did not understand. Zhao Hanyan's lips curled. Could it be you actually forgot? This voice was suddenly a bit strange. Su Xing rubbed his forehead. Last night Su Xing thought carefully about last night. It seemed that after he slept, Zhao Hanyan got up, and then she embraced him. You are honestly a fickle man. The woman walked out. You're. Su Xing's face turned red, and he stared. The steam dispersed. Only then did he see clearly that she was not Zhao Hanyan, but surprisingly Dong Junqing. Why is it you? Su Xing's details about this made Dong Junqing curl her lips in rumination. Do you want to bathe together? Dong Junqing suddenly pressed Su Xing against the wall. Her spring water eyes were full of charm. Dong Junqing's skin was like silk, sticking her satiny softness against him. Her towering twin peaks brushed Su Xing's chest. 3. Only then did Su Xing notice that he was completely naked. Su Xing, do you still want to? Your servant knows you are not satisfied. Dong Junqing's breath was like an orchid. She kissed Su Xing's lips, and then she kissed more passionately. Her serpentine body writhed upon Su Xing's, provoking all of the blood vessels in his body to expand. His lower body was instantly hard as iron. Dong Junqing, are you drunk? Su Xing seized her shoulders, still not understanding the situation before him. A man's taste is not bad at all. You stole away your servant's princess, so this general will take you as compensation. Dong Junqing once again kissed him, and her hands began to stimulate him. Su Xing could not help but moan. Dong Junqing's technique was exceptional. This feeling was too good, and in an instant, Su Xing's brain slightly short-circuited. He still did not understand how he and Dong Junqing were doing this. At this time, the steadfast star faintly panted and licked her lips. She gazed charmingly at Su Xing, and then her legs that were as wonderful as jade spread open. He straightened his back, and that surging desire of his immediately entered into a warm orifice. 5. Dong Junqing softly moaned. This is this general's resolve. Properly accept it, you man. That Dong Junqing would impose upon Su Xing could be explained by her quick defeat. And then she saw Lining Mei, who had the hint of one who had undergone rebirth. Losing her virginity meant losing her star nest. By doing so, Dong Junqing was forcing herself into a situation where she absolutely could never lose again. For a Five Tigers general, this perhaps was not a good realization. Because of Zhao Hanyan, Dong Junqing had always treated Su Xing with hostility. However, upon seeing him not hesitate to lower his cultivation to help her master, she actually felt that this man had some redeeming qualities. Giving him her body could be considered a favor representing Zhao Hanyan. Of course, Dong Junqing did not dismiss the idea of getting close with his 1,000-year wives after she got intimate with him. As stated above, this was why Dong Junqing would force herself onto Su Xing while he was unconscious. When she seduced him in the bath, she wanted to make this man experience a bit of her skill at giving pleasure. Let us just see how he can go and have intercourse with Princess and the other sisters after this. But, you man, you would unexpectedly dare use this position on this general, bastard. Dong Junqing's complexion was a charming red, colorful as the sunset. How could the current steadfast star general of double spears have known that Su Xing would let out a simply beast-like desire? After several battles, she nevertheless practically did not even have the strength left to budge. Dong Junqing lay continuously on the ground, her smooth and round but pointed upwards towards the sky. Her arms were already unable to put forth any strength to support her body. As a proud Five Tigers general, this kind of position made Dong Junqing feel considerably humiliated. Su Xing did not care for her grievances. How could he have not known Dong Junqing's thinking? He knew that this mirror-polishing woman had bad intentions, but he wanted to show her a bit of his power, so as to avoid her harming his wives. Having gone through Dong Junqing's initially tyrannical mounting, after he stood, it came Su Xing's turn to take the initiative. Thus, it was inevitable that Su Xing would use his most favorite doggy-style position to mercilessly penetrate her from behind. Dong Junqing was unable to suppress her own moans. Each time he attacked her rear, he slammed into the softness of her deepest parts. She never had this feeling when she polished mirrors with Zhao Hanyan. A sort of pleasure from having her body dominated made Dong Junqing hover between life and death. 2. So this is the feeling of a man? But neither was willing to concede defeat. Dong Junqing was thinking of using this opportunity to let Su Xing's other wives realize her power. Su Xing was thinking of making this amorous mirror-polishing woman Dong Junqing curb her evil instincts, to reform her strange interests. 3. However, back on topic, Su Xing knew that whenever he romped with Lining Mei, Wu Xinjie, and Hu Nyangzi together, Wu Xinjie often liked to take the chance to fondle and caress Lining Mei or the other girl as well. 5. To her good name, she could not treat a sister coldly. My darling Junqing, are you still unwilling to be satisfied? Otherwise, you'll look really unsightly passed out later. Su Xing continuously circulated a dual cultivation art, so that they both could enjoy some benefits at the same time they enjoyed their pleasure from making love. Big talk, do not hesitate to say it. Do you still have any strength? Allow this general to be your slave. There isn't any harm. But if you lose, your wives in the future will be handed over to this general to look after. Look after properly. Su Xing spanked Dong Junqing's butt. 6. Dong Junqing's body quivered. Suddenly Su Xing grabbed her arms. By doing so, Dong Junqing's upper body that had been laying down was inevitably pulled upwards, her body forming a sexy bow. This position made the sexiness of the girl's curves even more unmistakable, and her lower body was tightly pinned by Su Xing. Su Xing launched a fierce assault. Using the stormy torrent he poured to get through, Dong Junqing was very unwillingly pushed to a climax. Her whole body jerked and spasmed, and a bit of blood leaked from where she bit open her lip in order to not cry out. Coquettish panting echoed in the bathroom. So good. Damn it, she wanted that moment to last forever. Dong Junqing did not want to move even a finger. Finished. Dong Junqing turned her head back, not even able to put up a bit of her familiar expression. Obviously, her face had an expression of being pleasured to death, her body also at the end of its rope, yet she did not concede defeat. Su Xing admired her to death. He took the initiative to seize her red lips, making Dong Junqing's words completely swallowed. This tender kiss was full of a yang qi. Dong Junqing had never undergone such an ordeal, and the feeling of the kiss was even more intense than their intercourse. This general still wins now, HMHM. Su Xing, you had better let Junqing off. A sweet giggle echoed in the bathroom. Princess, you have awakened. Dong Junqing spotted Zhao Hanyan's flattering figure walking in, and her face then turned even redder. However, immediately afterwards, two absolutely beautiful girls walked out from behind Zhao Hanyan. Dong Junqing suddenly felt stifled. The graceful figure of Lin Yingmei wearing only a white bodice was completely visible. A single glance could make a man's beastly nature erupt, and the other girl wearing only a see-through silk bra was even more stunning. The sights beneath her undergarments were faintly visible, like a mist that made people unable to help but want to peep. Bright star 10 feet of blue Hunyangzi was indeed the most beautiful of Maiden Mountain's 108 star maidens. I really want to love them. Dong Junqing's heart had the impulse. Ah. Su Xing was awkward. The sounds of your lovemaking were too loud. This princess cannot stand it any longer. Zhao Hanyan smiled. She gently undid her garments and her purple bodice fell off. Dazzling breasts, a captivating hidden valley. The face of Lin Yingmei and Hunyangzi were slightly red. Because they had sex with Wu Xinjie so many times, the two girls actually were not conflicted. 7. Let alone that Su Xing dropped his cultivation from supervoid to supercluster in order to save Zhao Hanyan. Zhao Hanyan had said dual cultivation could compensate. Thus they came in together. Lin Yingmei and Hunyangzi glanced at each other, undoing their last undergarments and embracing Su Xing from the left and right in succession. Yingmei. Dong Junqing extended a hand to caress that snowy skin. Su Xing, you really are clingy. Zhao Hanyan stroked Su Xing's face, her gaze full of deep love. Because Su Xing used the intertwined branch, the compatibility between their spirits had reached a whole new realm. Su Xing powerlessly said, "Don't you care about your star general at all?" Her star general had lost her virginity, and thus, she lost her star nest. This problem was certainly a bit serious. Zhao Hanyan's hand was quite graceful in her touch. She smiled sweetly, not caring one bit that Dong Junqing had lost her virginity. Perhaps Zhao Hanyan had already wanted this done. To be able to improve Su Xing and Dong Junqing's relationship perfectly settled her vexations. As for the star nest, the similarly five tigers General Lin Yingmei did not have one. Could it be that Dong Junqing was inferior then? She slyly said. Dong Junqing, be properly satisfied with this. This princess is somewhat jealous. Su Xing, carry her to the bed to rest for now. Su Xing nodded. No. Dong Junqing was powerlessly carried away by Su Xing. The steadfast star glared at this man's gentleness, indignantly saying, "This general is not satisfied yet, this general." She looked at Lin Yingmei. "You should rest well." Lin Yingmei was blunt. "And worry about that later." Su Xing shook his head, finding that he had provoked some trouble. Watching Lin Yingmei's figure that was worth drooling over get farther and farther away from herself, Dong Junqing was very indignant. Damn it. She was unexpectedly exhausted by this man. If she had known earlier that she would be so embarrassed, she would rather have had that Zijin kill her. Futu walked into the restaurant's top floor booth. He saw that the White Tiger's other 6 spirit stars had already arrived. The Thunder Spirit Old Man Grandfather Li's eyes were shut, and he sat cross-legged. His star general Zijin was also indifferent as a flower like before, wearing a white robe as she stood beside the old man. She was like a pine tree on a sheer cliff, standing proudly upright. Futu never could see through this grandfather Li, and his star general Zijin was full of even more mystery. From Futa's perspective, this star general combination, if it was not for the purple thunder monster, perhaps the White Tiger's 6 spirits could not take him down. Futu cupped his fist respectfully. Shijioing sneered. He did not hide his loathing for this human. The others were relatively indifferent. Song Feng rose, smiling and saying, Brother Futu, you have come. Quickly sit. Yi Futu had a very favorable impression of him. He smiled but did not sit. Congratulations, Caiwei, for fulfilling your wishes and obtaining the along the river during Qingming. Emperor Liang convened a banquet. Every single cultivator turned pale with fright. It is a pity that fellows did not see it. Truly, it was too marvelous. Brother Yi flatters. Song Feng said. This Yi originally doubted Caiwei. That imperial palace forbid dance is not easy to break through. Yi Futu acted careless to probe him. Yi Futu is honestly looking down on Caiwei. Caiwei had secluded himself for 1,000 years. What is a trifling forbid dance to him? Even that Emperor Liang. Shijioing jeered. Hey, we sought out Brother Futu this time precisely for this along the river during Qingming. Song Feng interrupted Shijioing. Yi Futu gazed at Caiwei. The old man slowly opened his eyes. That tempered expression heavily pressed on Yi Futu. Such an imposing aura, without even moving his hand, was enough to overwhelm a person's consciousness. Yi Futu's heart was startled, and he became even more careful and deferential. If Caiwei has any instructions, do not hesitate to say them. This Yi will go through water and fire to complete them. Shijioing taunted. Shall we have you become enemies with the Azure Dragon territory? Yi Futu's heart shuddered. He did not hesitate to answer. This Ye's objective is only that Maiden Mountain. What does the Azure Dragon territory count for in this Ye's eyes? Originally, when your servant's cultivation was completely ruined in one night, your servant recognized the hypocrisy of this world. The Azure Dragon territory has no relation with your servant. Well said. Brother Futu and us have a common enemy. Shijioing, if you still feel that Brother Futu is not one of our brothers, today, Songfeng shall be the first to not forgive you. Song Feng loudly protested. The youth coldly glared at him, an even more derisive expression in his eyes. Compared to Yi Futu's ruthlessness, Song Feng, your flattery has even more gracefulness, ha ha. You do not understand flexibility. Blind arrogance is the thinking of a mere bug. Shijioing, do not think like this. Song Feng smiled. You. Enough, how long do you plan on arguing? An ice-cold voice made their bodies go cold. Han Bing coldly spoke. Shijioing said nothing more. Other than for the Seven Stars Assembly, there is another reason that our White Tiger territory gathered the White Tiger Seven Spirit Stars. And that is to use the Seven Spirits Absolute Destruction Array to break the along the river during Qingming. Yi Futu, are you clear on this? Han Bing was expressionless. Yi Futu's brows slightly rose. He smiled. So this was the case? Emperor Liang surmises that Caiwei is capable of breaking the along the river during Qingming very simply. Are we using the Seven Spirits Absolute Destruction Array now? Han Bing looked to Caiwei, apparently waiting for Caiwei's instructions. A long while later, this silent old man spoke only then. The always silent grandfatherly slyly observed Yi Futu for a long while before he finally spoke. This old man wants to give the Azure Dragon territory a lesson. Such an arrogant tone. To unexpectedly want to give the Azure Dragon territory a lesson. Yi Futu's heart trembled, but he indifferently said, Does Caiwei wish for Futu to do such a thing? I want you to go find that cultivator from the Most High Path and bring him a message. Grandfather Li smiled wholeheartedly. What message? Yi Futu could already guess what it was. The purple thunder monster's head. Yi Futu could no longer pretend to be calm. Caiwei, could it be that you want to go kill the purple thunder monster? Even if this grandfatherly villain was peerless, he could not possibly be the purple thunder monster's opponent. Wu Song, Lin Chong, none of them were weak. A lesson to the Azure Dragon territory was already sufficiently obvious. But how is this related to teaching the Azure Dragon territory a lesson? Grandfatherly smiled but remained silent. Han Bing then said, The Crystal Dragon Palace's treasure banquet has an enormous opportunity before us for the star duels. No one has ever seen it in 1,000,000 years. Could it be that you have not seen it either, Yi Futu? If no one has seen it in 1,000,000 years, how the hell am I supposed to have seen it? Yi Futu was bewildered. He muttered, The treasure banquet is the gathering of the absolute majority of the Azure Dragon territories, maybe even the 3 territories, cultivator sects. But what relation does this have with the star duels? Futu does not understand. Suddenly, Futu recalled something. Could it be that Caiwei truly wants to release that prehistoric Emperor Liao to terrorize the Azure Dragon? Yearning showed a slight sneer. Are you concerned about the Azure Dragon territory? No. However powerful the prehistoric Liao Emperor is, Caiwei must think carefully if he was to enter the world, and we have no guarantee for ourselves. Futu gravely said. Futu, do you know what comes after the 7 Stars Assembly? Grandfather Li asked. Selection of the Overlord. Futu did not understand why he would suddenly ask this. Grandfather Li nodded and then said, Then you must know in your heart that even if we White Tiger 7 Spirit Stars ascended Maiden Mountain, there will inevitably internal strife at the end. Only one person can live, which is to say, let alone that you are reverent towards this old man for now. When that time comes, would you kill without so much as saying a word? Futu did not retort. This logic was clear to everyone, and a retort would actually appear hypocritical. But Futu still was not clear on what intentions this old man had by saying this so frankly. If it was a warning to him, Futu did not believe he would be so bored with it. So we must release the prehistoric Liao Emperor. Hanbing was serious. Futu was even more confused. Could you explain a bit more clearly? Futu honestly does not understand how the 7 Stars Assembly and the Liao Emperor have anything to do with one another. The Liao Emperor, in fact, fell from Maiden Mountain. You should know that their cultivations already surpass Transforming Star of Annihilation. If it can release them, too, then we can rely on them to break Maiden Mountain's barrier and assault Maiden Mountain together. By doing so, not only us, even the other Star Masters of the Azure Dragon territory, Vermilion Bird territory, and the Black Turtle territory are merely so. Grandfather Li slightly smiled, and Futu only felt his whole body tremble. He had heard an unbelievable thing. The Liao Emperor came down from Maiden Mountain? In these star duels, we will not only become the Overlord, we will also attack Maiden Mountain and show those people our power. Grandfather Li showed a cold and fanatical smile. The old man glanced at the woman Zijin beside him. His expression recovered its softness. This is something this old man and Zijin decided. Zijin grunted, a tacit confirmation. Futu was greatly astonished. He had never thought that the White Tiger territory's 7 Spirit Star would be unexpectedly have this secret. No wonder that Xian would sign a contract with this old monster. It turned out she wanted to overthrow Maiden Mountain. This was too ludicrous. Even the Futu who had seen gales and billows felt that the events unfolding before his eyes were somewhat outside his common sense. Attack Maiden Mountain. Could this Liao Emperor truly do such a thing? Futu asked in shock. This old man is certain. But why take action against the other Star Masters? If we work together, humans are ridiculous. Star Masters are loyal to no one. Rather than making those sects join in, it is better to seize the opportunity to make them starfall. To be honest with you, this time, the Azure Dragon territory will inevitably be destroyed. Here and now, we are already prepared to collaborate with the Black Turtle territory's Devil Palace and the Vermilion Bird territory's Demikin to subjugate the Azure Dragon territory. The greatest bloodbath since the beginning of Liangshan continent's history will be on the treasure banquet's final day. Futu, you must not stand on the wrong side of things. Yearning laughed wildly, his mood very refreshed. Songfeng said, Brother Futu, just relax. This time, we will only act against those 10 great sects and star masters gathered in the Dragon Palace. After all, the Great Liang dynasty is already arrogant, different from the past. But does Brother Futu not want to take this opportunity to slay the Purple Thunder monster? Futu only then understood Grandfather Li's plan. Use the climactic festival of the Crystal Dragon Palace treasure banquet to massacre all in one fell swoop. This was a bold style, but this signified becoming enemies with all of the Azure Dragon territory's cultivators at the same time. Was this old man so confident in that prehistoric Liao Emperor? But Star Masters with the outlaw jade pendant would flee, would they not? Even if afterwards the Liao Emperor meddled in the star duels, that Caiwei would definitely handle her. 3. Futu said. Therefore this time, we want you to go see the ancestral master of the Most High Path. According to what we know, the Crystal Dragon Palace's Imperial Empress Long Wanqin has already lent out 12 of the connecting heaven-ocean settling pearls to him. This is a golden opportunity. This time, no Star Master will be able to escape. They will die, without doubt, and that purple thunder monster naturally will too. Han Bing indifferently explained. And a servant like yourself would not want to wait until that purple thunder monster actually obtains the 3 heavenly books, correct? When that time comes, what chance of victory would we have? Xiang Junqing also spoke up. Yi Futu forced down the shock in his heart. He looked at this group of metamorphosed demons in shock, particularly the old man sitting in the center. At this time, no matter how sluggish he was, he ought to be able to deduce these demons' plan. What a terrifying scheme. To turn the tables and exploit the 4 territories' banquet in a way that justified collaborating destruction with the other 2 territories. And to also use the Crystal Dragon Palace's connecting heaven-ocean settling pearls to block off the escape routes of all cultivators. This strategy could be said to be cruel. But old Taoist Northern Darkness has no way to control the Crystal Dragon Palace's heaven-connecting ocean settling pearls? Yi Futu took a deep breath, asking again. It appeared his questions were too numerous. Grandfather Li impatiently wrinkled his brow, and then closed his eyes. Song Feng smiled and said, So this time, Grandfather has made your servant accompany Brother Yi to go see old Taoist Northern Darkness to bring that message to him. Understood. Yi Futu nodded. Yi Futu and Song Feng departed. Xiang Junqing's tone was upset as he said, Is that man trustworthy? Precisely, Grandfather. Why should we want this human man to join the 7 spirit stars? He ruins our plans. Shizhuang felt one human in their camp was honestly a very big change. Han Bing smiled. Everyone be at ease. Grandfather in his grace and power does not fear this Yi Futu will not stand with us. Since explaining the Liao Emperor's might and promising that there would be no need for mutual slaughter upon ascending Maiden Mountain, even an idiot would know what to do. After all, Star Masters were people who would break away from Liangshan continent in the future. What should a destroyed Azure Dragon territory have anything to do with him? Sweeping the snow from the doorstep is human nature. Even Yi Futu is like this. Han Bing was certain. But if he actually renounced this? How do we break the seal without the absolute destruction array? Shizhuang coldly asked. Grandfather naturally has a contingency. If this Yi Futu continues to persist in the wrong way, we will kill him. If he dies, then would the absolute destruction array not be? If Yi Futu dies, then your servant shall take his place. An unruly laugh suddenly echoed in the room. Shizhuang was startled. A man of slight build strode into the room, cupping his fist in a salute to everyone present. I-5 will absolutely not disappoint Grandfather. Saying this, space contorted, and a young girl appeared. She had long, pink hair, a servant girl's attire, an adorable face, and a pair of adorable purple eyes anyone would let their guard down around. Star General. Whatever senior grandfatherly orders, your servant Miss Chili 6 and Qianro 7 will definitely listen and obey. Miss Chili respectfully said. Futu Hao Bingxin in his mind was somewhat anxious. After hearing Grandfather Li's plan, the girl felt lost. Yi Futu was stupefied, as if he was wearing a mask. His heart was contemplating just whether or not to help these demons complete the absolute destruction array and release the Liao Emperor, but seeing that Grandfather Li had more or less leaked the inside story to him and left him unsure. Since their counterpart was so frank, this showed that he was not afraid of betrayal, or perhaps this was a bluff. Yi Futu could not get a grasp of him and inwardly cursed this wily old fox. Brother Futu, what are you thinking of? Song Feng's warm voice interrupted Yi Futu's thoughts. Yi Futu was startled. He laughed. Your servant merely feels that Grandfather's plan is a bit too bold. That Liao Emperor has been trapped in the along the river during Qingming for 1,000 years. Perhaps he has long already been refined away. Brother Yi thinks too much. Even if he was, to be able to obtain the aid of the Most High Path is a good thing. Is it not? We are also collaborating with the Black Turtle and Vermilion Bird. At that time, no matter how powerful the Purple Thunder Monster is, he would be helpless. Exactly, the Purple Thunder Monster variable in these star duels has always been too unreasonable. Yi Futu agreed. Sung Feng looked at Yi Futu and knew he was still hesitant. The man vaguely said, "The 9th star duels were bound to have variables. The Purple Thunder Monster is one, Grandfather is one as well. Otherwise, a star general as exceptional as Zijin would never follow Grandfather. But is overthrowing Maiden Mountain not too overconfident?" Yi Futu nearly wanted to say arrogant. Once the Liao Emperor breaks Maiden Mountain's barrier, we will inevitably end the star duels. At that time, we will force our way in together. Whether or not we were overconfident will be seen when the moment comes. Could it be that your star general Bingxin does not want to change these star duels? Your servant feels that Brother Yi is a very close kindred spirit. It is hard to find a brother like yourself. Song Feng's words were very enticing and seemingly pointed. Yi Futu had to admit his eloquence was astounding. Just as Shijioing said, this Song Feng was unlike a demon. He was more human than a human. Your servant as well, and Futu understands, but the Most High Path boasts itself as an upright sect, a cultivator of outstanding righteousness. Will old Taoist Northern Darkness actually agree to ally with us? Yi Futu felt his own doubt, and was a bit uncertain. At the banquet, Northern Darkness showed indifference towards the Liao Emperor. If they actually used the Purple Thunder Monster's head as enticement, Northern Darkness has fish perhaps would be eager to take revenge. There was a very good chance he would agree. If he actually agrees, what more does this Yi have to consider? Yi Futu found an excuse to clear his conscience. Since the number 1 ancestral master of the number 1 great sect Clear Void Most High Path was able to take the risk, what did he Yi Futu have to consider? Thinking of this, Yi Futu suddenly relaxed. Yi Futu, did your esteemed father not attend the treasure banquet today? Northern Darkness has fish currently sat on a prayer mat, reading a section of the Three Clarities scroll. Beside him was a green lamp, extremely relaxed. His vast chi struck Yi Futu in the face, and Yi Futu was very skeptical that Northern Darkness has fish would actually reply. Senior is aware of everything. The Great Liang's 3 great martial kings have already not attended the cultivator's banquet for a long time. Yi Futu deferentially said, ever since Emperor Liang ushered the imperial family's golden age, he has nevertheless secretly restricted the nobility. Could it be he still fears he will be unable to quash a rebellion against him and the secure 3 great princes? Northern Darkness has fish smiled. Yi Futu was startled. He sensed that this old Taoist was discontent with Emperor Liang's speech, and he suddenly felt that even if there was no Purple Thunder Monster, that Grandfather Li would probably use Emperor Liang as bait. This is. Northern Darkness has fish put down the scroll, staring at Song Feng. Your servant is Song Feng. Song Feng smiled. In actuality, the reason your servant came today is because there is something your servant would like to bring up with Senior. Yi Futu said. What matter? Yi Futu hesitated a moment. This was a matter that was still a bit difficult to speak of. Song Feng directly opened negotiations. To be quite honest, does Senior Northern Darkness not wish to kill the Purple Thunder Monster? Northern Darkness has fish's gaze concentrated, and an imposing pressure clamped down. Even Song Feng felt his body turn heavy. Your servant is a star master who, like Senior, wishes to kill this scourge known as the Purple Thunder Monster. Xiang Nongmei brought out her star weapon and glared at Northern Darkness as fish, completely fearless of him. So this is the case. Northern Darkness has fish's expression dramatically improved. The Purple Thunder Monster has broken the rules of the star duels. Yet Maiden Mountain sits idly by and watches. This is indeed very unfair to the other star masters. Exactly. So your servant wishes to take advantage of the last opportunity before the 3 heavenly books. Unite the other territories, star masters, to kill the Purple Thunder Monster right here. Song Feng smiled. And you would have this Taoist aid you? No, but your servant wants to bestow to Senior an incantation to control the heaven-connecting ocean-settling pearls. So long as Senior uses it when the time comes, the 24 heaven-connecting ocean-settling pearls will definitely trap the purple thunder monster and leave him with no way to run. Northern Darkness has Fish was alarmed. He suddenly shouted, "Just who are you?" A Three Clarities Chi immediately rushed out. Yi Futa's whole body had been continuously trembling up until now. The Most High Path's #1 ancestral master was fully deserving of his title, for he was extremely powerful. Northern Darkness has Fish fixed his eyes on Song Feng and sneered. How could anyone just randomly know about the secret script on the prehistoric spirit treasure heaven-connecting ocean-settling pearls? If you do not speak, this old Taoist shall hand you over to Long Wanxin today. Senior, quell your anger. Song Feng was calm. This matter is absolutely harmless to Senior. Does Senior not want to take the purple thunder monster's head as an offering to the sect? This is an absolutely golden opportunity. Northern Darkness has Fish muttered for a moment. In the end, his aggression completely receded. He waved his hand and tiredly said, "This old man is exhausted. See yourselves out." Song Feng slightly smiled. He knew that the #1 ancestral master of the Most High Path before him had already agreed. Junior bids farewell and wishes Senior peaceful sleep. Han Bing and Xiang Chenxing separated to go find the #1 star masters of the Vermilion Bird Territory, Lady Snake Scorpion, and the Black Turtle Territory, Holy Lord of Draconic Demon, to discuss their alliance. With the might of the prehistoric Liao Emperor, they believed that neither the Vermilion Bird Territory nor the Black Turtle Territory would refuse something as good as a bloodbath in the Azure Dragon. Furthermore, toppling the Crystal Dragon Palace meant that countless treasures could be theirs. Who would miss out on something this good? Grandfather, Xian Lao's All Things bracelet has reached 3rd place on the spirit ceiling list. Does Grandfather want to test his own prehistoric spirit treasure? To make the Azure Dragon Territory's cultivators broaden their horizons at death's door? Shijioing said. Oh, the spirit ceiling list? Grandfatherly spotted that tall signboard. This treasure banquet has displayed many new prehistoric spirit treasures. These Azure Dragon Territory cultivators truly have not seen the world. Like us demonkin who refine magic weapons, who would not use prehistoric materials. 2. I heard that ever since the spirit ceiling list opened, that #1 Supreme Ultimate Diagram has never changed its ranking. Why not Grandfather make them witness our power? Shijio Ying's eyes shifted. You just want to see it? Grandfatherly faintly smiled. How could he not know his shallow thinking? Shijio Ying promptly denied this in a panic. Grandfatherly was like a kindly old man. What harm is there? This old man also wants to know which is superior, the Supreme Ultimate Diagram, or the Good Fortune Prayer Mat. 3. Saying this, Grandfatherly closed his fan and pointed at the spirit ceiling list. A ray of light entered. From far away, there was a scream. An unprecedented, blood-curdling scream. Shijio Ying looked. The #1 position that had not moved in a million years had already begun to change. The Supreme Ultimate Diagram fell to 2nd, and a new magic weapon entered 1st, Good Fortune Prayer Mat. Grandfatherly looked at the distant crystal pagoda, his fan pointing at the faraway east. Zijin, if we are still no match when we reach Maiden Mountain, what do we do? Die fighting. Zijin merely replied with 2 words. These 2 words made the old man knowingly smile. What? The Supreme Ultimate Diagram has dropped from #1 on the spirit ceiling list? Wai Xinjie was especially shocked upon learning of this news. Yes, the entire Crystal Dragon Palace has gone crazy. Zhang Yuqi felt the same. This treasure banquet was constantly changing, and the ranking on the spirit ceiling list had changed numerous times. Several never before heard of prehistoric spirit treasures had suddenly being born was already exciting enough for everyone. Now even the #1 Supreme Ultimate Diagram had already been succeeded, which was honestly inconceivable. Why does Xinjie feel this treasure banquet has danger? Wu Xinjie tightly wrinkled her brow. She suddenly felt somewhat uneasy. The All Things bracelet and Good Fortune Prayer Mat had entered the top 3. Perhaps this was the doing of those White Tiger Territory Star Masters. Would they flaunt their magic weapons so ostentatiously? The treasure banquet cannot possibly have any danger. Xiyu disagreed. As everyone knew, the Crystal Dragon Palace had the heaven-connecting ocean-settling pearls for protection. Add on that the Azure Dragon Territory's most powerful cultivators were mostly all gathered here. Only an idiot would want to cause trouble in the Crystal Dragon Palace. Elder sister must be overthinking things because she heard of the prehistoric Liao Emperor matter. Xiyu consoled. Perhaps, Wuxia muttered. The treasure banquet has 2 more days until closing. The last Super Void banquet is supposed to display serious things like the Double Seven. We should prepare. Xiyu said. When Su Xing returns, we will definitely shock him. Xiyu smiled. 5. While young lord is not here, let us see what we can do. Wu Xinjie smiled. Could something have happened to that Lingyan princess? Zhang Yuqi worried about this. Little sister Yuqi, just relax. Young lord hasn't intertwined with her. So long as she does not die, young lord will have a way to resuscitate her. The 1,000-year divine sword intertwined branches, together to hell, is an honest fact. Wu Xinjie smiled. Zhang Yuqi said in astonishment. Su Xing hasn't intertwined with a star master? And Xiyu, do not be jealous. Wu Xinjie covered her mouth. Xiyu's face reddened, and she promptly shook her head. Su Xing sat cross-legged on a bed. He was currently cultivating in meditation. A wisp of clear qi lingered around his head, gathering and dispersing. Lining Mei and Hunyangzi stood guard nearby, and Ensuan was monitoring Su Xing. Dong Junqing lay weakly on another bed. Zhao Hanyan sat on her bedside, gazing at Su Xing. Princess Highness, Junqing was selfish. Dong Junqing's voice was very weak. The price of wildly losing her virginity was indeed not light. Even with the efficacious star divine physician Ensuan and the great Liang Imperial Palace's myriad secret medicines, she would take at least half a month to recover. Lingyan Princess Zhao Hanyan looked at her beloved. Hearing Dong Junqing's words, she returned to her senses. She waved her hand. No matter. This princess was responsible this time as well. If it was not for this princess being too arrogant, we would not have fallen like this. To even force Su Xing to drop his cultivation to help me. She sounded frustrated. To be frank, seeing you connect with Su Xing. 6. This princess is actually somewhat happy. Zhao Hanyan stared at Su Xing's expression, full of happiness. Dong Junqing pursed her lips, an expression that said, this general really was a dowry girl. Zhao Hanyan's smile was like a flower. Junqing, if you know Su Xing long enough, you will like him. At least, you will like him in that aspect. 6. The Lingyan princess said dubiously. Even the Dong Junqing with skin thick as a rampart felt embarrassed enough to die. She had originally wanted to conquer her partner, but she never thought that she would be the one conquered. After a while, Su Xing opened his eyes. Su Xing, what is the situation? Zhao Hanyan stepped forward, asking with deep concern. Having undergone this affair, she was considerably warmer. Dual cultivation has already made my cultivation reach supercluster peak, but supervoid stage is still very difficult. Su Xing pursed his lips. His body's supercluster star energy bubbled forth, but to form a void to enter supervoid was nevertheless being inhibited by something, preventing him from ascending. Su Xing had originally relied on the new Watiers to soar into supervoid in one step from supercluster middle stage. Now that he had fallen to supercluster, he naturally felt at a loss of what to do. Do you want to return to the treasure banquet to find some spirit medicines? Gong Caiwei was still by the door. She expressionlessly asked a question, gazing at the women inside the room who all were in fact husband and wife with Su Xing. The eyes of the young woman of ice and snow were somewhat rueful. It was precisely because of that sort of thing from back then that made Gong Caiwei always feel Su Xing was unforgettable. Zhao Hanyan pondered. If Su Xing goes back, the treasure banquet will have already ended. It would be better to seize this chance to break through to supervoid from dual cultivating to peak state. This princess has the purple smoke confusing sky lantern that Su Xing can borrow. Oh right. Zhao Hanyan suddenly recalled something. Her finger pointed, and a bottle flew out. These are 1,000-year tears that Queen Mother of West Luan had refined. Su Xing, this is perfect for you to ingest. No need, this is your thing. Su Xing shook his head. There is no need to be modest between us. Lord Husband ascending to Supervoid is the most important. Zhao Hanyan said. And Suan said, right, big brother. Your cultivation dropped to supercluster. A breakthrough will perhaps be very long in coming. Take it. If you do not want it, this bottle of 1,000-year tears, this princess will throw it into the ocean, to avoid seeing you troubled. Zhao Hanyan pursed her thin lips. Her brows feigned anger, appearing serious. Because Su Xing had used the intertwined branches star energy imbuing relationship, Zhao Hanyan's cultivation had not only been maintained, it had actually greatly increased. No wonder she would be so worried. Then I must thank wife Hanyan. Su Xing was no longer modest, so as to avoid feeling somewhat unfamiliar. Zhao Hanyan curled the corner of her lips. A star master marrying another star master. In all the world, only you would dare to do this. When the time comes for the 7 Stars Assembly, let us see what you will do. We are husband and wife. I actually want to see what that Maiden Mountain will do about us. Su Xing smirked. I fear that there has been a change in the treasure banquet. At her imperial residence, Song Qingxi abruptly said this. Why would elder sister arrive at this conclusion? Wang Jingji was confused. This was nothing more than information that Dai Xingyue obtained as she wandered all over the land, that some people were secretly meeting with the Devil Star Palace. She could understand how an association was drawn to the treasure banquet having changes. The along the river during the Qingming has been stolen, but Qiongyu does not believe that whatever prehistoric Liao Emperor. Jin Qiongyu snorted. Think carefully. Is the treasure banquet a danger or opportunity for Star Masters? Song Qingxi said. The girls were not like Song Qingxi, who thought things through as finely as an embroidery needle. They all shook their heads. The treasure banquet was famous for having every kind of material, and many star masters and star generals would come to the banquet in search of items to upgrade star weapons. Particularly the climactic auction of the treasure banquet at the very end was even more spectacular. As far as Star Master was concerned, how could such an opportunity be dangerous? Since it is an opportunity, it is also dangerous. On the other hand, if someone deliberately took advantage of the gathering of all Star Masters under one roof, and laid a trap to handle the Star Masters? Guofeng laughed. Elder sister thinks too much. And, however, even if someone was collaborating, elder sister forgets that the crystal dragon seems to have some whatever ocean-settling pearls for protection. If a battle actually broke out, I hear those will form a space to trap the person in. Guofeng laughed. Song Qingxi's eyes glinted. Correct, this is exactly the point. All of the girls were stupefied. Could elder sister's meaning be that the Crystal Dragon Palace and the Azure Dragon Territory sects are collaborating to face us? More appropriately, this is to face the Purple Thunder monster. Jin Qiongyu sneered. But that Su Xing seems to have already left the imperial residence. Elder sister is truly wasting her kindness. Let alone that elder sister must be aware that even if there is danger, that will not involve us. Elder sister and that Purple Thunder monster have a very good relationship, do you not? Other than the Purple Thunder monster, who else knows elder sister's identity? And how can any of the other Star Master be our opponents? Song Qingxi generally felt that things were not so simple. It was already very suspicious that the along the river during Qingming would be stolen at such a critical time. And add on the fact the appearance of Star Masters whose origins were unclear, who were also quietly working with the Devil Star Palace, there would perhaps be a change in this treasure banquet. But when Jin Qiongyu and Guofeng said this, Qingxi then felt hesitant. On second thoughts, Emperor Liang and those Azure Dragon Territory top-notch cultivators were still in the Crystal Dragon Palace. No one would dare to turn this tide. The prehistoric Liao Emperor? The items on the last day of the banquet will be the most expensive. The Nine Dragons Palace has already waited very long for this day. Jingluan will not give up. If elder sister is afraid, Then you can leave with those sisters from the Spring Breeze Drunken Rain Pavilion. Jin Xiongyu pursed her lips. Ever since she discovered that the Spring Breeze Drunken Rain Pavilion had a good relationship with Su Xing, she did not have a very favorable impression of these sisters. Perhaps Qingxi is being overly cautious. Song Qingxi muttered to herself, her forehead always covered with an unshakable overcast. Mama! Bai Yutong happily spread her arms when she spotted Gutong, like a bird throwing itself into the forest. Gutong showed a happy smile. The Spring Breeze Drunken Rain Pavilion's sisters knowingly smiled. Ever since the Black Turtle Temple, they very rarely saw Gutong so happy. Tangtang, have you been well? Papa is very good to Tangtang. This is big sister Yuqi. Tangtang tugged on Zhang Yuqi. So you are Tangtang's mama, huh? Why aren't you together with Su Xing? Zhang Yuqi asked in astonishment. I have no relation to him. Gutong stiffened her face and said, Su Xing is Tangtang's papa. Zhang Yuqi teased. The pair sat together and chatted. Seeing that the Spring Breeze Drunken Rain Pavilion sisters had a very good relationship with Tangtang, Zhang Yuqi was puzzled and asked, Why don't you sign a contract with young Su? Why should we sign a contract with him? Gutong pursed her lips objecting. Can't you be together with Tangtang like this? Don't tell me you will stand against Tangtang at the Seven Stars Assembly? Zhang Yuqi shrugged. Does Su Xing not want to end the star duels? Big sis Qingxi is as well. Li Shuangfei said. That leader's star? However, Yuqi is very curious as to how you were able to sign a contract with the leader star? This is unprecedented. The truth was very simple, just like signing a contract except Qingxi used an uprising banner. So long as the counterparty verbally agreed, they could join the uprising. Do you know why this generation's leader star is capable of the uprising? Zhang Yuqi could not think this through. I seem to have heard elder sister Qingxi mention that it is because she defeated killer star Long Kuei. Afterwards, she had the uprising banner. Li Shuangfei muttered. No way. The incompetent Song Jiang was able to defeat the true fiend star? Zhang Yuqi did not dare believe this. What is so impossible about this? Qingxi was a Dragon Birth's 9 sons magic weapon. When the time comes, even Lin Chong would find it very difficult to defeat her. Gutong disapproved. Zhang Yuqi still did not understand what Song Qingxi defeating Li Kuei had anything to do with the uprising. Zhang Yuqi wanted to understand more, but owing to their opposing standpoints, the Spring Breeze Drunken Rain Pavilion did not say anything more. Then, after they chatted for a long while, Tangtang gave them her newly brewed wine and bade farewell. Tangtang, your mama is very happy, yes, very proud. Haha. Zhang Yuqi hugged Bai Yutong along the way back, smiling. Bai Yutong lay against Zhang Yuqi's chest. She sniffled, and Bai Bai too jumped onto the little lowly's face to lick the corner of her eyes. 3. Will we become enemies with Mama? Bai Yutong weakly asked. Your papa isn't this sort of person. Even if we really became enemies, he would definitely try everything to bring her over here. Who let her be your mama? Zhang Yuqi giggled. Only then did Bai Yutong turn her tears into laughter. Treasure Banquet. The Crystal Banquet's final day came at the climax. 7 consecutive days of the Treasure Banquet entered the quota, and at the same time, the last auction officially began. This auction had long been speculated fervently by people. The Crystal Dragon Palace pushed today's items onto the stage, and already very early in the morning, countless cultivators had gathered. This Crystal Dragon Palace could be said to be wave after wave. The spirit ceiling list constantly changed, a feast for everyone's eyes, and it made everyone's glitter in even greater anticipation of what magic weapons the Crystal Dragon Palace would auction. The Crystal Palace was a hall of splendid blue waves. To be able to enter signified one's experience and cultivation were illustrious. Average cultivators did not have these qualifications, however. For the sake of promoting the atmosphere, the Crystal Palace would open the Crystal Wall today, allowing other cultivators to spectate the events of the auction. This was considered a small trick to draw in attention. What separated the girls from the other cultivators was that owing to Su Xing's patronage with the 10,000-year evil-suppressing gem bamboo, after Shiyu and the others walked through a corridor for special guests, they directly arrived at a private booth. This booth was similar to a small building, and its hall was separated into many walkways. Other than the lowest level of seats, along the walls of the hall were many balcony-like booths. A person could sit inside and be able to see the entire venue. The Crystal Palace's decorations were gorgeous, but without losing their gracefulness. Upon walking into the hall, it was like reaching an art museum. It was filled with a pleasing atmosphere. Sister Xinjie, the people sitting inside the booths are all very exceptional. Shi Yuan gazed at those rows of small structures. The 10 great sects, the 4 great families, and the great Liang imperial family, as well as popularly known scatter cultivators and powerful cultivators from each territory were present. Each box booth leaked supervoid dignity, making people feel stifled from just a glance. For this, Su Xing was not present. He gave full authority to the knowledge star and Shiyu. This crystal dragon palace's design is actually not too bad. Wu Xinjie looked down on the crowd of people. Although those people were certainly very rich, comparing in this aspect could distinguish them at a glance. Wu Xinjie noticed that her luck was not bad. If it was not for Su Xing's patronage, they would perhaps be squeezed together with those people. It's a pity sisters Wanyue and Xiao didn't come. Shi Yuan was depressed. Su Xing is not here, and what interest would they have in something like an auction? Wu Xinjie smiled. Originally, Loner Star Generals did not have much interest in highlight events. At this moment, the 9 Dragons Palace's Shi Jingluan caught sight of Wu Xinjie. She raised a cup of wine to express her curiosity, and Wu Xinjie slightly smiled. Shiyu suddenly felt a chilling gaze stare at her. This gaze came from a cold booth. That was the Devil Star Palace's Holy Lord of Draconic Demon. And from that cold and gloomy stare, Shiyu could sense her counterpart's anger, shock, and also a sort of indescribable pity. Shiyu, your cultivation has now surpassed the Holy Lord of Draconic Demons. There is no need to pay attention to him. Zhang Feiyu disdainfully said. Shiyu nodded. The noisy hall abruptly fell silent after a brief moment. The girls that had been chatting were a bit curious about this sudden change. Shi Yuan blinked and asked. What happened? Oh, Emperor Liang has come. As the Azure Dragon Territory's #1 cultivator, Emperor Liang's appearance on stage always would attract the gazes of everyone. The Emperor Liang, wearing a 5-clawed golden dragon robe, leisurely took a seat. When Emperor Liang emerged this time alone, he wore the august majesty of the imperial family. That was a kind that subjugated all under heaven. This was a temperament that a cultivator was unable to achieve through training. His face, that was as grave and stern as a sculpture, was very warm. Under his sternness, there appeared to be someone full of love. His deep eyes were mysterious yet keen. Not only Wu Xinjie and the other girls, but other people sitting in booths showed him deep veneration. The Azure Dragon Territory's Emperor Liang immediately stole away all of the gorgeous Crystal Hall's glory the moment he appeared. However, there were still many regretful and doubtful voices. That is strange. Why do I not see the Lingyan princess? To not be able to see the Lingyan princess with my own eyes is truly a pity. This auction has lost much of its delight. Emperor Liang was unmoved. He looked around, and his divine intent unfolded, probably scanning for uninvited guests. Then, when he faced Wu Xinjie, his sharp expression slightly warmed. Emperor Liang nodded. He was probably telling her about Su Xing's matters. Following the dimming of all lanterns on the auction platform, the steady Long Wanqin personally assumed the role of auctioneer this time. This imperial empress of the Crystal Palace and the Azure Dragon Territory's #1 cultivator acting as auctioneers brought everyone a vain satisfaction. It is the great honor of the Crystal Palace to once again welcome everyone's attendance. Over the course of several thousand years, the Crystal Dragon Palace and the Long clan have always maintained the best banquet in Liangshan continent. Long Wanqin issued a passionate and proud speech. This beautiful woman's voice spoke every word very softly, yet everyone could hear her. That voice was full of a charm that was somewhat captivating. And as she recited her speech, Long Wanqin was also sweeping her gaze of the expressions of all the cultivators present. According to these expressions, Long Wanqin judged which cultivators would perhaps stir trouble in the auction. A long while afterwards, Long Wanqin then started the actual event. She first took out several fragments, which glinted lustrously. The dazzling, profound light immediately shook the entire place. Astonishingly, they were star fragments. Shi Yuan indignantly said it was no wonder that the star fragment harvests these days were few enough to be counted on fingers. As it turned out, they were already handed over to these imperial empress. These star fragments were useful for star weapon ascension. The star masters of each of the great sects fell over each other in their eagerness to bid. The price of these star fragments opened at 20 billion. Then stupefied bidding commenced. Elder sister, let's not bid. Shi Yuan stopped her. You did not understand. You will not be able to steal it. A star master's things, it will be very difficult for you to get close. How could Wu Xinjie not see what she was planning? This young lady has but very professional ethic. Shi Yuan cried foul. Wu Xinjie shook her head, not minding her. Very quickly, the star fragments were bidding at 50 billion, far above the expectations of everyone. The great sage Falling Sky Rock Demon King hailing from Falling Dragon Mountain has already bid 55 billion. Will anyone bid a bit higher? These are but very rare star fragments. Although their effective usage time is brief, they can settle a decisive victory. Long Wanqin's low tone instigated people. 60 billion. A voice suddenly called out on the third time. Suddenly, this high price attracted the eyes of everyone. 60 billion. These star fragments were about to exceed 100 billion. Everyone saw this came from the Devil Star Palace's position. The Holy Lord of Draconic Demon complacently curled the corner of his lips, thoroughly enjoying these shocked gazes. He felt like a star. 60 billion appeared to be a lot, but it was worth it for these star fragments. In exchange was merely some top-notch talismans and medicines. The Devil Star Palace still had capital. Coming to this treasure banquet, the Holy Lord of Draconic Demon had secured several hundred billion in riches. 60 billion going once. Long Wanqin slightly smiled. Will Great Sage Falling Sky renounce the star fragments for his wife? The Rock Demon King glanced at the Holy Lord of Draconic Demon. He snorted and shouted, 70 billion. 70 billion. These came from the legendary star world. Could these star fragments only be worth 70 billion? Or are you saying the Devil Star Palace will use the star fragments as proof of even more glory? Long Wanqin's eloquence was honestly incredible. Wu Xinjie was truly impressed. In just a few sentences, she had ignited the mood, taking advantage of the Holy Lord of Draconic Demon's temper to inflate the price further. 80 billion. As expected, the Holy Lord of Draconic Demon perfunctory announced his bid. The Rock Demon King wrinkled his brow, his heart somewhat unhappy. 90 billion. This time, the Rock Demon King let out an ice-cold bid. Some people could already hear the Great Sage Falling Sky's hidden displeasure. Many apologies, Great Sage of Falling Dragon Mountain. I am thankful your distinguished self is interested in these star fragments. But the Devil Star Palace also wishes to use these star fragments to solve the mystery of Star World. No matter what, these fragments will belong to the one most determined. Holy Lord of Draconic Demon politely said. Immediately he indifferently said, 100 billion. Everyone present was shocked. Even Long Wanqin herself could not help but cast an astonished expression at him. 100 billion. Long Wanqin said. Her voice was enough to make every person excited. As expected of something from Star World, 100 billion. Any higher? Everyone cast a glance at the Great Sage of Falling Dragon Mountain. It appeared he was at a pivotal point. The Lady Snake Scorpion beside him whispered something. Then, this Rock Demon King had no choice but to snort to signal his disengagement. Since the Devil Star Palace wants it, then give it to that old man Dark Nether. My wife is very compassionate. Many thanks. The Holy Lord of Draconic Demon was very pleased with himself. He was confident no one else would bid higher. Just when everyone thought that the star fragments belonged to the Devil Star Palace, a calm voice suddenly interrupted Long Wanqin's third call. 110 billion. Everyone gasped. All flabbergasted gazes were placed upon booth number 2. That was a very beautiful young woman. She sat upright and still, refined and elegant, slightly smiling. The girl was exceptionally young, but her supervoid cultivation gave people a big shock. And this bidder was naturally Shiyu. What now, Shiyu? After becoming the Purple Thunder Monster's property, you also have so much money? The Holy Lord of Draconic Demon coldly said, his eyes shooting fire. Lord Husband also has use for these fragments. Since they are already at the highest price, I will naturally need to take action. Shiyu indifferently said. The Holy Lord of Draconic Demon glared at her. What did she mean by taking action at the highest price? Could it be that she thought he waited all this time, not bidding until no one bid? He coldly laughed, already somewhat willing to give up. After all, 100 billion was the bottom line. I hear that the Purple Thunder Monster is exceptionally wealthy. As expected, he is both in name and fact. Very good. The Holy Lord of Draconic Demon had originally wanted to give up, but Shiyu's seemingly insincere sentence raised his fury. Shiyu feels very sorry to have made you waste so many of your bids. How very amusing. Shiyu smiled. Water illusion fairy. You are too arrogant. The Holy Lord of Draconic Demon said with disdain. Perhaps I should let you see the power of the Black Turtle Territory's Devil Star Palace. Something that the Purple Thunder Monster, who popped out from who knows where, cannot contend against in saving the beauty. 150 billion. The Holy Lord of Draconic Demons said without any hesitation. Then he looked provocatively at Shiyu. Shiyu shrugged her shoulders. I shall yield this honor to you. Long Wanxin hung her mouth open. Even an idiot could see at this time that Shiyu had deliberately provoked the Holy Lord of Draconic Demon. The Holy Lord of Draconic Demon's 4 great law protectors were somewhat irritated, and he himself was even more gloomy. The first item star fragments were sold at an astronomical 100 billion and 50. Immediately, the whole place was tongue-tied. At the same time they lamented that the Devil Star Palace was indeed overbearing and affluent. They also anticipated the next item. The whole place's lighting completely dimmed. Immediately afterwards, Long Wanxin cautiously opened a box. The originally dark auction house was instantly enveloped in a gorgeous rainbow light. The 7-colored light shone onto everyone's shocked faces, and even Emperor Liang could not help but shift. Living in the legendary star world, surpassing the strength of the mundane world, a powerful permit for travel, this is the Crystal Palace's second item to auction. Stone from Star World and the 7 kills ravenous wolf. Long Wanxin's serene words floated in the darkness. Immediately after she finished speaking, the auction house was suddenly illuminated, and that glowing astral stone on the auction platform still emitted an extremely alarming light. 7 kills ravenous wolf. Everyone was shaken. The power of that kind of Star World immemorial demon beast was unfathomable. No one could have expected that the Crystal Palace's second item would be so superb. There was surprisingly an astral stone containing a 7 kills ravenous wolf. It appears we will have to take action for this. Wu Xinjie muttered. At this very moment, outside the hall, at a certain corner, there was a fiery battle on display, silhouettes chaotically flitting about. A young girl was currently engaging Ling Feishue in combat. That young girl was none other than Zhang Yanran. After several bouts, Zhang Yanran's defenses were finally torn open with a hole. Ling Feishue spied her chance, opening fire with her cannon. With an air-shattering sound, an arc of thunder swept towards Zhang Yanran, leaving completely no leeway. Zhang Yanran had no choice but to grip her weapon with both hands and block with all her strength. Yet the tough power did not slow in the slightest from this. Her blow was merely deflected slightly. Ling Feishue smiled. Her strength suddenly magnified, and then she attacked. The silent destruction star meteor cannon fired with a muffled boom. It smashed over like iron. Zhang Yanran felt her wrists turn heavy, and her pace began to turn somewhat flustered, not as resolute as before. A whoosh shrieked through the air. Zhang Yanran's smile disappeared, for she caught sight of Ling Feishue firing her cannons directly at her. Zhang Yanran helplessly retreated, pulling away a certain distance. To think you are actually an earthly star? Very amazing. Ling Feishue praised. Immediately after Ling Feishue spoke, the air suddenly rang with a sharp noise. A silvery bullet suddenly appeared at Zhang Yanran's side, as if it had always existed there. The bullet flashed. It stabbed at her like a knife. Such swift speed. Zheng Yanran raised her saber, and a cold light slashed apart space. Icebreaker Snow Slicer. With a bang, the incoming bullet was cut in two. The saber light was fast to the extreme. Her entire figure instantly attacked. At the same time, the straight saber once again advanced. Boom. As if there was a sudden explosion, there was a crisp ring. Ling Feishua once again fired, using her yellow rank, flashing brilliance heaven-shaking thunder. The seemingly exploding shells instantly flew forth, and countless fine fire thunder scattered in all directions like sharp knives. The sound of thunder attacked. Zheng Yanran quickly turned about, her speed extremely quick. Ling Feishua was stunned, for her cannon was already avoided. She caught sight of a Han dress arrive in front of her. At the same time, Ling Feishua spotted a pair of eyes, a pair that contained not a shred of emotion. An ice cold that was like the nine hells existed in those eyes. Zheng Yanran's eyes were brimmed with a cold intent. Cold air flourished. Hey! Ling Feishua lost her smile and fired again. The corner of Zheng Yanran's lips curled. She suddenly slashed, moving a step closer rapidly. The beauty of this saber light was completely indescribable. In fact, when this saber light flashed, the air even froze solid. That ray of perfect saber light seemed to be the most beautiful thing in the world, captivating everyone instantly. It could even make everyone forget the meaning it represented. Dark technique. Saber drawing water breaking. Her armor cracked open. Ling Feishua showed a startled expression, for she was in cutting distance. As far as heaven-shaking thunder was concerned, this was a fatal distance. Zheng Yanran showed an ecstatic sneer. Despite her immaturity, her actions were nevertheless decisive. Just at this moment, a chill billowed behind her. Zheng Yanran perceived this immediate flash. The 33 Dark Sky Star Frost Swords attacked. Courting death. Resonance. Han Bing said coldly. Meanwhile, Ling Feishua fired, using dark technique. Thunderclap Fire Rain. Several hundred bullets became a rain of fire, rays and tongues of flame that pounced towards Zheng Yanran. Under resonance, her power was increased 100-fold. The two had tacit understanding in their teamwork. Zheng Yanran had no place to run, and she was immediately completely struck, groaning in suffering. Go! Han Bing raised the evil cleanup knife and followed up the attack. Zheng Yanran raised her hand and blocked. Immediately, she indignantly grit her teeth. Her forehead's star crest flashed, and she was killed into the star nest. Are you alright, Feishua? Han Bing asked. What a powerful little sister. It was almost over. Ling Feishua stuck out her tongue. And her star master? Escaped. Han Bing said. Han Bing looked at her surroundings. We must hurry and complete the array. There is not much time left. Very well. Wuxia and Hua Wanyue roamed the streets of the Crystal Dragon Palace. Because the last Grand Supervoid Banquet auction had opened, the majority of cultivators had all gone to the Crystal Palace. The streets appeared somewhat colder compared to a few days prior. Knowledge star Wu Xinjie says the White Tiger 7 spirit stars stole the along the river during Qingming. Moreover, they will have some plan for the treasure banquet. Wuxia, what do you feel? Hua Wanyue glanced at the pilgrim. Ever since that good fortune prayer mat took first place on the spirit sealing list, Wu Xinjie believed that probably was the magic weapon of the White Tiger 7 spirit star's thunder spirit. His ostentatious flaunting perhaps was not with good intentions. In association with his theft of the along the river during Qingming, Wu Xinjie had told them that the White Tiger 7 spirit stars were probably planning to exploit the most opportune time, right place and right mood to stir trouble at the Crystal Dragon Palace. Most opportune, right place, right mood. Wuxia muttered. The Crystal Dragon Palace possessed the connecting heaven-ocean settling pearls. This type of legendary magic weapon was capable of turning itself into space. A Star Master could not flee even with the jade pendant. If there was a star duel here, the end was obvious. This was the so-called most opportune. And because this was the best opportunity for star generals to upgrade star weapons before the 3 heavenly books, the vast majority of star masters would appear. Ordinarily, They would conceal all traces of their star general's sightings, the so-called right place. Finally, at the Three Territories Communion, they each harbored sinister motives. The White Tiger Territory's 7 spirit stars were extremely likely to be in league with the Black Turtle and Vermilion Bird to face the most powerful Azure Dragon. 3 territories easily uniting at a banquet was the so-called right mood. This time, place, and mood were all completely simultaneous. If one announced they were uninterested, Wuxia would not believe them. What have we to fear against an alliance of 3 territories? Wuxia sneered. She happened to be worried that the trail of the White Tiger Territory was somewhat troublesome to track. If they made their move at the banquet, that would save her a lot of time. Hua Wanyue knew that the power of the Azure Dragon Territory was outstanding. If a war truly broke out, they would not be at a disadvantage. But the hero star felt considerably intrigued about the Liao Emperor in the along the river during Qingming. She wondered what the White Tiger 7 spirit stars would do with this transforming star of annihilation-level monster. However, Wuxia needed to participate in the final banquet. For the sake of safety, she still implored Wuxia and Hua Wanyue to look around everywhere in the Crystal Dragon Palace to see whether or not they could find the trail of the White Tiger 7 spirit stars. To be frank, I have a question that I have always wanted to consult with you, Wuxia. Hua Wanyue muttered. Please ask. Majestic Star Linchong and Harm Star Wusong have historically had good relationships. In the 8th star duels, they even reached the summit together, creating an unprecedented star general epic. I am very confused. Wuxia waved her hand to stop Hua Wanyue's question. It was not clear how many times Wuxia had asked herself this question, but she smoothly answered. Your servant knows your intent. It is strange that your servant and Ingmei would serve the same lord husband. Hua Wanyue agreed. Wuxia smiled, devastatingly beautiful. The Harm star showed a sweet smile uncharacteristic of the pilgrim. Hua Wanyue knew that she already had her answer. But Su Xing's history is unclear. He is such a large variable. Do you all not feel this is strange? Wuxia stared at Hua Wanyue for a moment. She then suddenly smiled sweetly. Did I misspeak? No, but your servant remembered something from before. Your servant once asked Ingmei about this, but the result was that after Lord Husband and your servant interacted, your servant is nevertheless not afraid to go through fire and water to protect this man. Wuxia was absent-minded. She recalled all of those various, vivid, dubious experiences with him, for the first time giving Wuxia a sort of feeling that she truly existed. Liangshan Continent all said that Star General and Star Master signed contracts to carry out battle. That Star Generals appeared extraordinarily arrogant. The truth was that they were no more than Maiden Mountain's wandering puppets. Battle, battle, battle. This was the predestiny of Maiden Mountain's 108 Star Maidens. But Wuxia could sneer and scoff. Wanyue, in the future, let us aid Lord Husband together. Wuxia was most sincere. Hua Wanyue was taken aback. That absolutely beautiful smile made her unable to help but nod. But then she immediately remembered that his man had shot that vile thing onto her face before. To give herself wholly to this man's service was honestly shameful. She coldly said, I will help Su Xing scale Maiden Mountain, but he will have to step over my corpse before that happens. If that day truly comes to pass, Lord Husband will defeat and forcibly sign a contract with you. Wuxia downplayed this. Death before dishonor. Hua Wanyue was resolute. Wuxia felt even more diffident. Then what about the thoughts of Ingmei and the other sister? This. Hua Wanyue was speechless. Seeing the cunning in Wuxia's eyes, she blushed and said, Wuxia, you repeatedly address Su Xing as Lord Husband, but you have never signed a contract with him. Is this not very strange? In reality, you are not too faithful in him, are you? Suddenly, a concentrated killing intent emerged from Wuxia's eyes. Hua Wanyue immediately felt her body turn cold, and her heart was frightened. She knew that she had misspoke. Your servant will sign a contract with Lord Husband. But the time for that is still yet to come. Wuxia retracted her ice-cold murderous aura. She faintly said, Lord Husband has broken the rules. In the future star duels, Danger will inevitably lurk around every single corner. Signing a contract now is not beneficial to Lord Husband. So this was the situation. Hua Wanyue pondered. Seeing the renowned, cool and elegant pilgrim so considerate of a man. Sure enough, she had fallen deeply into enemy clutches. Just as she thought this, explosions suddenly burst in the Crystal Dragon Palace. Wuxia and Hua Wanyue looked at each other. They dashed in that direction without any hesitation. And not long after, they stopped. 100 meters away, atop a pavilion, a young girl stood facing the wind. She wore a relaxed white robe, and her long had parted slightly like kelp in a lake, giving an impression of undeniable tranquility. The girl closed her eyes and lowered her head. Wuxia and Hua Wanyue's martial general instincts immediately sensed this girl was an ill omen. Behind the girl, there was a faint golden rainbow rolling about, every sort of talisman script fluttering. Please halt, you two. The young girl meditated. Seeing an anomaly in the Crystal Palace, Wuxia coldly said, "Little sister, you must be taking the side of the evildoer White Tiger Territory Demonkin. Elder sister, that you obsess with the appearance of the demons, you nevertheless fall just short." Zijin softly said, each word very quiet. "Well said, their appearances are not worth a mention. Let us speak with martial force then." Wuxia grasped Noble Frost Demonic Lotus, and the white and black unicorn tiger rushed forth. Hua Wanyue nodded. She brought out the Heaven-Earth-Sun-Moon bow, her gaze sharp as a hawk's. Zijin did not move. Wuxia wasted no time. Her figure rose up and shot forth like an arrow, dispersing lotuses along the way. Astonishingly, she used yellow rank, Tenli Demonic Lotus Dragon Slaying. Zijin leaned slightly away. An invisible weapon entered her hand and blocked Wuxia's absolutely quick slash. The girl easily deflected, and the invisible blade swelled with a cold air that brushed past Wuxia's cheek, drawing a line of blood. Interesting. Wuxia sneered. The double-ended sword in her hand slashed downwards, unleashing a brilliant light. Zijin immediately blocked, but the sudden force pushed her back several dozen paces. "Wusong." Zijin's tone was slightly attentive. "Hey." Wuxia disdainfully smiled. Her sword swift as the wind, she slashed. Regardless of attack or speed, Wuxia did not hold back at all. Zijin continuously retreated, seemingly suppressed. That invisible blade in her hand sustained each of Wuxia's attacks, appearing increasingly heavy. Thunder rolled. Zijin suddenly spun around. Killing intent concentrated onto Wuxia's neck. Wuxia swung away and quickly drew near, sweeping her leg towards Zijin's chest. The intense wind from her leg made the girl's skirt flutter. Zijin dodged into the air. Suddenly, she heard a beast's roar. From out of nowhere, a ray of clear light bearing its fangs lunged at Wuxia. Noble Frost Demonic Lotus attacked. The pair fought several dozen bouts. A sharp arrow brushed past from the side. Hua Wanyue was not idle. Her eyes became increasingly sharp as she drew her bow into a half-moon. Zijin's expression moved. Suddenly, she disappeared from beside Wuxia. Her speed was extraordinarily fast. She gave up on Wuxia, turning instead to attack Hua Wanyue. "Careful!" Wuxia shouted. Roar! A gloomy blue star beast pounced to hinder Wuxia's speed. Hua Wanyue's gaze was increasingly clear, as if she could see through 10,000 li. In her eyes, she caught sight of several people currently erecting a peculiar array on top of a roof. 7 rays of different colored lights pulsed in the air, forming mysterious characters. These characters seemed like arrows that flowed steadily onto a scroll. Hua Wanyue felt something was wrong. She was already preparing to first use the 10,000 li god-killing arrow. Just when she was concentrating, killing intent descended upon her. She heard Wuxia's warning. Hua Wanyue instantly gave up on the 10,000 god-killing arrow. She turned around and fired an arrow at that baleful aura. Break! The air shattered. An arrow stuck its way into Zijin's chest. Zijin's figure vanished. A shadow? Hua Wanyue was astonished. She spotted her counterpart flash, instantly arriving in front of her. She raised her hand, and a whistling saber wind poured into her ears. Hua Wanyue was repelled by this slash. The hero star shouted, the heaven earth sun moon bow in her hands turning into the red jade star splitting short spear for the head-on confrontation. The short spear caught Zijin's attack. Hua Wanyue's brow wrinkled. Following her opponent's attack, she stabbed. But Zijin's reactions made Hua Wanyue surprised. The girl was calm and composed, leaning away to dodge. Immediately, the blade's edge gouged her waist. Hua Wanyue retreated several steps, blocking with the short spear, and using her yellow technique. Whistle. 2. The spear became a ray of red light and whistled away. Hero Star Huarong. The girl's shoulder had been pierced, leaking blood. Your servant's true name is Wanyue. Little sister, will you not announce your name? Hua Wanyue felt this opponent was formidable, so she did not dare to be neglectful. Just as she was preparing to use her dark technique blood dance, an odd change suddenly occurred. Zijin's figure suddenly turned dim in Hua Wanyue's eyes, as if a darkness had blurred her. Then, the hero star immediately sensed a powerful danger launch straight at her. Hua Wanyue's pupils shrunk. Zijin was already in front of her. She completely did not see Zijin take any action whatsoever. But it seemed that as if the moment Zijin had raised her hand, her attack was immediately several hundred times faster. That kind of abruptly arriving killing intent was impossible to guard against. Hua Wanyue's chest suddenly chilled. She felt that she had been run through by a kind of sharp weapon, and her body fell onto a roof, like a kite that had broken off its string. She heard her opponent's soft and seemingly mesmerizing voice echo in her ears. Your servant's true name is Zijin. The killing intent that was shaken out overturned the bangs on one side of Zijin's face, revealing the blue birthmark that covered half the girl's cheek. Dark star blue-faced beast Yangji. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.